All right, so I'm gonna, start from the top here. When it comes to your check ride, first impressions are very important. The examiner is gonna be ensuring that the aircraft is eligible for the check ride, that you are eligible for the check ride. So I recommend going into it with your tab logbook nice and tabbed out and having all of your aircraft documents ready to go. That way, that first part of the check ride is, extremely fluid, right? It goes quick. I work with DPs at my current job, and they all pretty much say the same thing. They can kind of tell when someone's going to do a good job or pass at least the oral exam within the first 30 minutes of meeting them. How they present themselves, how prepared they are. They have maybe a check ride binder that has all their documents and performance calculations, nav log, everything like kind of all organized. Doesn't matter how you do it, just stay organized. So when you show up, they want to see that you're being PIC. Okay, so they're going to check your eligibility requirements and the aircraft's eligibility requirements. Okay, they're going to give you a pre-check ride briefing, basically saying they're going to conduct, or I will conduct the test in accordance with the ACS, and they're going to ask you, have you opened the ACS? And the answer is supposed to be yes, right? They're going to follow their own plan of action. You know, they're not expecting perfection. It's okay if you get, if you don't know everything, and they will review it in the debrief. That goes both for the flight and the oral exam, right? My biggest recommendation in terms of answering these questions is, one, don't guess. If you need to find the answer, take the time to find the answer. And you don't guess and don't over explain. Don't dig yourself a hole. Answer the question, right? A good example is like, if I asked you what this is not a writing utensil. It can do all sorts of things. It can also have an eraser. The eraser, can erase, the graphite from the paper. No, the answer is it's a pencil, and then just leave it at that. Okay. Just answer the question, no more, no less. Don't dig yourself any holes, especially if you're talking about something that you may not know any as deep of an understanding as he might know, right? And then they're going to describe to you the three possible outcomes. The one is, the one everyone wants is the temporary certificate. Yeah, temporary certificate, notice of disapproval, which no one wants, and then discontinuance. Okay, discontinuance. I'm sure you can do it anytime. Okay, you can call it during the oral exam if you feel like it's not going well. Just say I'd like to continue, and as well as the flight. If one maneuver you really didn't go well and the winds are picking up and you have the chance to stop, then stop because you won't. It's not a failure. Okay.
But I can discontinue it in case of weather, I guess, but not something I didn't, right?
You can discontinue for any reason at all.
I remember I checked it in before and it said only like to
Nope.
stop weather or something.
Nope. If you're in the flight, or say like you start the oral exam and you're not feeling too well, you're not all there. You maybe had a really bad night's sleep.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't, and you didn't choose to cancel it. Yeah, you'd have to pay him. Obviously, you'd still pay him. He's going to charge you. But if you want to discontinue, that's your decision. Once you start the check ride, it's not like you're trapped in that room with him and you can't leave until this check ride's over. No, that'd be ridiculous, right? It's not prison. So if you're not feeling well, or you maybe are thinking the overall check ride is not going well, and you think the next one more mess up and that's a fail, then maybe make the decision discontinue. And that also goes for the flight. If one maneuver doesn't go well and you're like, damn, I really don't think I'm going to be able to hit this short field landing, right? Maybe you make the decision to discontinue before you actually end up failing, and that's not a failure. It won't be on your record. Okay, so we're going to start the oral exam now. Okay, I'm going to be following the ACS. All right, and I'm going to kind of emphasize the topics that you wanted to. Okay, so the first few.
I wanted to let you know that I have the
Sure.
paper application on my phone or my iPad, so I don't have the
Okay.
physical copy. So if you like see
Sure.
me, I would show you, but I'm not cheating.
That's fine. And that's fine. Again, electronic FAR is totally fine. Okay, so a lot of these first few questions, I'm sure you're going to hear before. Okay, I'm assuming you've done a lot of mock orals up to this point. So, all right. When we're assuming you're a private pilot, okay, going forward, you're no longer a student pilot as of today. When acting as PIC, what documents are required to be in your possession?
I need to have my photo ID government issued, and I also to have medical certificate and a private pilot.
So you cut out. So I heard medical certificate and government issued and private pilot certificate. Okay, good. Okay, so your medical. What class of medical do you have?
I actually do have first class medical.
You have a first class medical. Okay. So how long are your first class medical privileges good for?
They're actually good for 1 year because I'm under 40 years, but right now I have third class privileges because it's already passed the 1 year, so I have it for
Okay.
another
How long are
4 years.
those? Yep. How
4 years.
long are those? Okay.
In
So
total,
wait,
5 years.
5 years. Thank you. Do you know what that first class medical like allows you to do?
Airline privileges.
Or ATP privileges? Sorry, you keep cutting out. If you could put the microphone maybe closer.
Yeah, me?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know what? I'm just gonna remove this.
Yeah, that's probably
Can you hear
good.
me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. It's just like I can hear the first like few words and then you'll go silent.
Um,
Okay, so you said AATP privileges would allow you for first class? Okay, good. How long? So if you're over 40, then how long would that first class medical be good? Privileges be good for?
it would be 6 calendar.
Okay, and then what would it revert to after 6 calendar months?
Third class medical again, but it would be 24 calendar
So for if you're over 40,
in total.
it it goes 6 months first class, 6 months second class, and then the rest of the months third.
Mhm.
Okay, so
So you're saying it would be 6 months and another 6 months would be second?
yes, because whether you're 40 years old or under, like, doesn't matter for second class. It's always a year. So if you're over 40, that first class privileges drops from 1 year, like you said, because you're under 40, drops to 6 months. So it goes 6 months first class privileges, then the other 6 months second class privileges, and then the rest. I guess 12 more months for third class privileges. 6123 has a really good chart. If you like want to reference during your check ride, 6123 is the reg.
Mhm.
All right. So obviously, we're assuming that you pass a check ride today. Um, After today, what are some privileges that you've now gained once you get that temporary certificate?
I actually can carry passengers and work for non-profit or charity or community events, and also can work as a sales woman because I'm a woman. If I have more than 200 hours, like I can sell aircrafts, and I also can share the pro rata share, but not less than the pro rata share, which share the expenses of the aircraft rental, the fuel, aircraft, airport expenses, and oil.
Hmm.
And for the limitations, I don't know if they ask me about the limitations.
Yeah, let's go limitations.
Okay, I dignified myself. Okay, so I cannot fly above 18,000 feet. I
You
cannot
can't.
fly.
You say that you can't fly above 18,000 feet because you're not.
I have flight rating.
Okay, I would make that distinction because private pilots can fly above 18,000 feet, but they exactly.
I
Yeah,
cannot fly.
it's not. So that's not necessarily a limitation for a private pilot, right? It's just a limitation that you would have now, not because you don't have an instrument rating. But I guess that's just
Because some
semantics there.
pilots actually ask me like, can you fly above 18,000? You know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, the answer is yes, I can once I get my instrument rating.
Exactly. And also I cannot fly for higher or compensation higher. I cannot
Yep.
pay less than the pay rate.
Okay. Yeah. Good. Um, so you mentioned pro rata share. Okay. So what if you're a private pilot now and you're renting an aircraft? Okay. Um, you'd want to take a friend up with you to, I guess it's an airport near you. I guess I don't know.
Any
Key
airport.
West. Yeah, Key West, whatever, for the weekend, for a little beach day. Um, can let's say they want to go to Key West, right? They say to you, I have a very sick aunt that I really need to visit. I will pay a pro rata share. You know, we will split the cost evenly, but can you drop me off in Key West?
Well, I don't have the same purpose for it like them. I can do the prorata share if I'm going with them as also me want to go there. So if
Yeah,
I don't want to go there, then that's a compensation.
yeah,
Yeah,
because there's no reason that you would need to be in Key West unless maybe you had. I mean, find a reason maybe. Like I want to go to the beach, but I guess there has to be common purpose to go to Key West. Okay, good. All right, so you fly a Cessna 172. What would you have to do? What would you do to, you know, let's say you get your private pilot rating and someone has a really good rental deal on a Cessna 150. Would just rent it, go take it up solo or with a friend?
I need to have the endorsement for it, and I need to go to the instructor and get the endorsement from him.
So do you need an endorsement to go from a 172 into a 150?
I mean, actually, yeah, because it's different aircraft. Because
So
I actually did that. I was flying on the 150 at first, and then I changed it to 170. I couldn't solo because I was going
so we're talking about if you wanted to, if you're already a private pilot at this point, right? You just passed your check ride. So do you need? It's more of a question is like, are you legal to fly it, right? Are you legal to fly 150?
yeah, because
Yeah, you are, right?
the single engine land.
Yeah, you can hop in a banana, not banana, but you can hop in a Cherokee, right, and fly it, right? But the question is, I guess the better scenario would be maybe it's a Piper Cherokee, right? Would you go up and fly it? What would you do to maybe feel safe enough to fly it? What's your personal minimum there?
Like you're asking me, right?
Yeah.
So can you describe the
So
circular
you pass your check ride. You've done all your training in a 172.
Is it a
Yeah,
single engine?
yeah. It's a single engine piston aircraft.
Does it have?
It does not.
Okay. Does it have a
Nope. It's
single
just
landing
single
gear?
engine,
Okay.
fixed pitch, or yeah, fixed pitch and fixed landing gear, less than 200 horsepower.
Okay. Not complex.
Nope, nope. Not complex, not high performance.
Yeah.
So you can legally, right?
Yeah.
And it's a great deal on a rental, right? So you'd go take it up with a friend and go fly it. So this is like a scenario-based question on proficiency. Okay, so you have no experience in a Piper Cherokee, or in very minimal experience in a 150, as far as I know. And I think you said you usually fly a 172. So this question might come up during a check ride. They're going to ask you, they're trying to get the answer out of you. What in your mind is proficient? What it takes to be proficient in aircraft, and what it takes to be current. And we'll get into currency in a second. But for that question, I think a smart thing to do, just in general, is whenever you, even if you're legal to fly it, because you can hop in a Piper Cherokee and be legal to fly, because it's single engine, fixed pitch, fixed landing gear, piston aircraft, and it's the Cherokee is 140 horsepower, but probably it's less than what you fly now. But the answer would be, in my opinion, is no. I would want to fly with either a CFI or another private pilot that has experience in Piper Cherokees or experience in 150s, because I don't know if there's differences in, how they land procedurally, right? For example,
That in the beginning, right?
I didn't hear you. Sometimes you're kind of cutting out that
Okay. So I said I need to stay with an instructor, but I'm legal to fly.
Okay, I
Yeah.
missed that.
I'm sorry.
Good. I'm sorry. That's probably why there's a point of confusion there. Okay, so good. Yes, exactly. You'd want to go with an instructor, or it doesn't have to be an instructor. It could be someone with a lot of pipe experience. Exactly. Yeah. So that's what they're trying to get out of your proficiency versus currency. Okay. So Yeah, so I must have missed it because I hear some words and then you'll cut out for a second. And I must have missed that very important piece of information.
Use microphone for 2 days. I don't know what's wrong.
That's okay. We'll get through it. Okay, so on the topic of currency, right? So before we talk about that, you mentioned, you're asking me, is it just constant speed? Does it have retractable gear? What does a plane need to have to be complex?
The one that have retractable landing gear and retractable flat, and also constant pitch difference.
So I heard, I heard constant speed propeller,
And
and I
retractable
heard,
landing gear and flaps.
okay, yes, good. What about high performance?
It needs to be more than 200 horsepower. And if it's
Okay,
200, it's not horse.
yeah, good.
Horsepower.
I got my complex in a plane that was 200 horsepower, and I was upset that I couldn't get my high performance. I paid money. It was right after my private pilot. I didn't understand that regulation. Okay, so now onto currency. Right after today, it's assuming you pass your check ride today. What do you need to do to maintain your currency or your currency?
I need to have a flight review within 24 calendar months, or a check ride, or the
What was that last one?
wings program on the day.
Okay. Yeah. Good. All right. What if you want to take passengers?
I need to have 3 takeoffs and landings. It depends on the day, on the night, but on the day I need to have 3 takeoffs and landing within the last 90 days. And for night, it needs to be full stop.
Yeah. So if you got those three takeoff and landings during the day, are you night current?
No.
What about the other way around? If you got it at night, are you day current? Okay. All right. Obviously, I assume after you've passed your check ride, you're going to eventually get your instrument rating, right? What flight time is required to be logged in your logbook? Is it all of it? Is it legally required? You go up in a flight, you just go for a fun flight. Do you have to log it legally?
Legally, I need to log the hours that it's for a specific rating or specific certificate.
Okay. Yeah. Good. Um, all right. So we talked about currency versus night and day. When can you log night landings?
There's 3 types of definitions. So the night landing, it needs to be 1 hour after sunset to the 1 hour before sunset.
Okay. When are you required to have your position lights on?
From sunset to sunset.
Okay. And nighttime?
It's the ending of several, I forgot the thing. It's the end of several twilight.
Yeah.
Evening until the early morning civil twilight.
Yeah. Morning. So end of evening civil
End of
twilight.
evening to the beginning of civil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. Um, now we're on airworthiness requirements. Again, it seems like those questions you've seen before. But I guess in terms of that section of the ACS, weaknesses would be the night that I've seen, the night definitions, which you have down. And then, basic med. What's basic? No, your night definitions are great. You have that down.
Look, English is not my first language, so sometimes I
It's
like,
fine.
what? It's fine.
No, you have it down as in like you have it like locked. Yeah, you're good. You have the definition understanded. So what's basic med?
Basic med is actually a medical certificate that we can get instead of the actual FAA medical certificate because of health issues. Or we just
Okay.
want it like cheaper because it's cheap.
Yeah, so pretty much you instead of going to an AME, you can use your physician, right? Um, what are some limitations of basic med?
Limitations. I cannot fly outside the USA. I cannot fly above 18,000. 18,000
Yeah,
feet. And I cannot exceed 250.
I can't hear you. I see. I think you said the speed limitation there.
Yes, I cannot
Okay,
exceed.
I'm trying to read your lips as we go.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
I cannot exceed 250.
All right. Any other limitations on what type of aircraft you can fly?
It needs to be under 12,500.
Good. There's also a seat limitation. Do you know what it is?
Yes, I need to have 7 occupants, including the pilot.
Good. Yeah. All right. Happy with that. What documents are required to be inside your aircraft during operation?
I need to have my supplements, black cards, airworthiness certificate, registration, radio license if it's international, operating applications in the POH, I think section 2, and then the weight and balance, the actual weight and balance for the aircraft.
Yeah, wait and balance. Good. So if you get to the plane and the flight manual, the POH, and the plane is missing, can you just grab any POH from a 72 November model and use it? No. Good.
If
Has
it's
to be
an
specific.
electronic one, no. I can
Good. Okay. What are the required inspections that you need for your aircraft? Obviously, at this point, you would have gone over them with your examiner when they ensured the aircraft was airworthy, but
You're fine.
we should go over it.
The ADs, which is the airworthiness directives, I need to also have my annual, which is inspected every 12 calendar months.
Mhm.
To have my ID, or it's inspected every 30 days if it's IFR, it's for IFR, for the
Mhm.
military about that. Then 100 hours of inspection if it's for compression higher.
Yep.
And then we have altimeter. That's for, we check it for 24 calendar months. And C transponder for 24 calendar months, ELT for 12 calendar months, or 1 cumulative hour wheels or halfway battery. And then S for static port system, which is 24 calendar months, but that's also for iPhone.
For only. Yep. Okay. Good. So IFR only static, pitot-static system, altimeter pitot-static system, and then the VOR. Good. All right. So you mentioned ADs. What is an AD?
AD is actually basically in one word, it's a report from FAA about the aircraft.
Okay, it's like a recall. Good. What about service bulletins? Yeah. What are
These we need to comply with them. The service bulletin is a recommendation from the FAA.
sure? So the service bulletins are they? That's a common misconception. Are they from the FAA?
Yes.
So service bulletins are from the manufacturer. The recommendations from the manufacturer, and then the ADs. Those are from the FAA. Both I think would be great to follow. I mean, most flights, I think at least every flight school that I've been with has followed service bulletins well. They're still very important. So let's say you get out to the plane, after you get your license. This is the same aircraft you took a check ride in. You've flown it hundreds of times, maybe dozens. I don't know how many hours you have, but a lot of times. You go for a flight. You have a great flight. It's a beautiful day, and you get back, and your instructor or your instructor comes out and says, "Hey, you just flew that plane out of annual. You're in big trouble." But are you in trouble? Like, no one told you. You've flown this plane hundreds of times. It's not your responsibility, right? Are you in trouble?
It's supposed that I check the inspections, but it's not my fault. It's actually the owner or the operator, because they need to make sure that the aircraft is airworthy. I need to make sure that the aircraft is safe to fly.
Yeah. So are you in trouble?
Well, let's say no, I'm not the one in trouble.
So I mean,
I'm supposed to check it, but it's not my fault.
yeah. I mean, I guess in your mind, it's not your fault. But could you get in trouble by the FAA?
I don't think so. Maybe I'm.
So you can, right? You got in that plane.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't check that it was within you. Again, like it's one of those things. Like, do we all check every single time we fly a plane that we've that we know is airworthy, like in our mind? Do we check every time? No. I'll be lying to you and tell you that I'd be lying if I said that I check the annual inspection every time I fly a plane. But if you do fly a plane out of annual, the FAA can take action against you, the pilot, because
And
you are supposed to ensure that it is airworthy. That's one of your responsibilities. Yes, the operator, your flight school, is supposed to ensure that it is airworthy condition before like maybe putting on the line, but you got in the plane, you took it up. So you are in trouble.
uh,
Okay. So it is the PIC's responsibility for ensuring that it is airworthy before flight. It is the owner operator's responsibility for maintaining the aircraft in airworthy condition. Okay. Um, is it legal for you as a private pilot to conduct, excuse me, maintenance on the aircraft?
yes, but
What type of,
yeah, preventative maintenance.
where did you find that? At the list of things.
14 CFR Report 43.
Good.
I think
Yeah.
paragraph A.
Yeah. Appendix A, paragraph C. Yes, part 43. Preventive maintenance. And you can do some crazy stuff. Like, I mean, it depends on who you ask if it's crazy. To me, I am not mechanically inclined. So I would never be touching the spark plugs or replacing the spark plugs or, do anything like of the sort. But it is something that is available to you for legally to do.
Okay.
What are okay, let's talk about equipment requirements. What are the required equipment? What is the required equipment for day VFR?
The HMI which do you want me to list them for you?
So what's the regulation that you're
19,
referring?
19,
You cut out, but I assume you said 205.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and if you can reference the reg if you want, but I usually write it down as I go, but I have it right here, so.
Okay.
Um,
I also.
yeah, exactly, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
During your check ride, if you want to just bring a blank piece of paper, that way you don't have to like think in your head, because everyone knows we're going 8 tomato flames in our head. Good thing, I'm glad you didn't say 8 tomato flames, because the DPs usually they don't like to hear that you're just going off an acronym. They want to know that you can reference the regulation, especially that one. But yeah, if you want to go through it for practice.
Oh, okay. So it's airspeed, tachometer, oil pressure gauges, manifold pressure. We don't have one, but it's not it's a requirement. And also the altimeter, temperature gauges, oil temperature, fuel gauges, and landing gear, anti-collision lights, magnetic compass, ELT, and safety belt.
So I heard, maybe you cut out, I heard landing gear.
Yes.
So is it landing gear or like, so is landing gear in the 91205 or is it like something else that has landing gear in the name?
I can check it. No, let's check my.
Yeah, you can check.
Landing gear position indicator.
Yeah, which doesn't apply to us, right? Because we don't have retractable gears. So then again, right, if I asked you if you got to the plane and you didn't have landing gear, it's not 91205, but it's probably not airworthy. Um, but yes, so make sure you understand that there's a difference, right? Landing gear position light, if it is applicable to you. Everything else, I think was good. ELT, magnetic compass, and seatbelts. You said. What about day? What about night VFR?
We have 205 plus the flaps, which is fuses or circuit breakers, landing lights, anti-collision lights, position light, and source of electricity.
Okay, good. So why is anti-collision lights there for day and night VFR? Like, isn't that kind of redundant?
Um, know it's in both of them. I don't really know what's the difference, but I can check it for you.
No, I mean, this is a question I like to ask. I think it's important to know why it's there twice because it's something that came up during I guess when I started like instructing, like as a job. My old flight school, they like to cut corners, and it wasn't very a safe environment. It's like a mom and pop. They like to just all they cared about was keeping the plane airworthy, or in their mind airworthy, for you know, I guess for profit. So the reason anti-collision lights is there, if you read the regulation for day VFR, it states that all pretty much like I'm going to paraphrase here. All aircraft certified after I think it's March 11th, 1996, anti-collision lights are required. So I think your Cessna was probably certified prior to that date, right? It's probably 80s or 70s or I don't know when your Cessna was. 78. Okay. So when this Cessna first was certified, your Cessna that you're flying, anti-collision lights were not required. Strobe lights were not required for day flying. But FAA, they adapt. They make changes for safety concerns. They wanted to make that change, right? So they added that regulation saying that you need anti-collision lights if you're playing for day VFR now. But want to they didn't want to change this regulation and then have like thousands of planes now become airworthy in one law change, right? So this is a way the FAA grandfathered or allowed these planes to still be airworthy and not have anti-collision lights. So the reason it's also there for night VFR is because if you read the night VFR anti-collision light regulation, it says that all aircraft flying at night need strobe lights or anti-collision lights. So there are aircraft out there certified before March 11th, 1996 that don't have anti-collision lights that are airworthy for day VFR, but not airworthy for night VFR. Okay. But just because your Cessna 172 has anti-collision lights and maybe you pre-flight the plane and the strobe light is inoperative, that does not mean it's still airworthy because it's daytime. If you get fitted with anti-collision lights and one of them's not working, now the aircraft's not airworthy. You are no longer allowed to operate under that rule. Does that make sense? Any questions of like why it's there twice? Okay. All right. So, okay, good job with that. Seems like you have that down. Let's say you get to the plane, okay, and your COM2 radio was inoperative. What is the process of keeping that aircraft airworthy?
First, I will check. Everything is actually listed in regulation 91 to 213. So it's
Mm-hmm.
basically I will check if I have a minimum equipment list. I will check that first. But if I don't, I will check the 9125, which is the VFR requirements for day and night. And then after that, I will check the kind of equipment list and comprehensive equipment list. If it's not listed in there, I will actually like card it inoperative for the circuit breakers and also check the AD if there's error within services. If not,
Okay.
I'll just call the maintenance and call the circuit breakers.
All right. Good. So I heard MEL, which you don't have. I heard kinds of equipment list. I heard I cut out on one more thing that you would check.
AD airworthy.
ADs. Okay. So let's say you get to the plane and your stall warning horn is not working. Is that aircraft airworthy?
I know.
Why do you how do you know that?
It's actually required. I think it's in the equipment. In the PO8.
Under what regulation?
It's not the 91
No, because stall warning horn is not under 91. No. So how do you know? So is it? Does your plane have a KOEL?
Section 6.
I need to look. Okay, so reference it then. Where is it? Kinds of operation limits I'm seeing. I don't see a KOEL.
Maybe it's that one thing. Okay.
No, so you don't have a KOEL, your aircraft. I don't. I think you sent me the 1978 POH. Yeah. So how do you know it's not airworthy? I'll tell you.
What I remember it was actually needed. That's what I remember,
It was actually what?
that we needed.
Yeah. So you do. Okay. But we need to know how we know that. Yeah. So I really liked your flow, right? You said I'm going to check MEL. Obviously, we don't have one. KOEL, but you should know you don't have one. Most older, like 70s, 60s, like when you get to, like, I used to fly Cherokee. I fly Cirruses now, so I'm spoiled because it's like made in like 2025. But I used to fly Cherokees, right? And those planes just as old. None of them had KOELs. Okay, so we were going off 91-205, and here's something that I'd add to that flow. Probably the last thing you check is your type certificate data sheet. Have you ever heard of what that is? Yeah, so it's yeah, put it in your flow or the acronym, however you're remembering that flow. Put type certificate data sheet in there because when a manufacturer builds a new aircraft, they need to satisfy Part 23. Right? It's not that Part 23 is not in the physical FAR, but it's probably in ForeFlight, your electronic FAR. It's very big. It's a very big part, but it lists all the things that aircraft needs to have to be an aircraft that's airworthy. Part 23 says that you need a stall warning indication, right? Whether that's, however, it says whether that's a stall horn, a stall light, or some aircraft don't have stall horns, and that stall warning indication just is the buffeting, okay? But I believe, and don't quote me on this, but the TCDS for a Cessna 172 has the stall warning horn in there. So specifically for the Cessna 172, yes, it is not airworthy if the stall horn is not working. Okay. So obviously I wasn't expecting you to get that, but I would add checking the TCDS to that answer you just gave me, because I think that was a sufficient answer for a check ride, right? But then he's going to ask you, okay, what if you get to the plane and the brakes aren't working? The brakes aren't in 91-205. They're not in you don't have a KOEL, you don't have an MEL. And a student that just knows that flow would say, oh, it's airworthy, but I wouldn't fly it. And yeah, obviously you wouldn't fly it, but it's actually not airworthy because brakes are obviously required. So it's important to know why.
So
Good.
I didn't. So what I have in the POH, what is that?
So your POH has kinds of. It doesn't have a KOEL. It doesn't have anything to reference. It has kinds of operation limits, but all that says is that the airplane's equipped for day VFR and may be equipped for VFR or IFR. That's pretty much all it says. And no flight into no nice.
It does have a list of equipment and section 2.
Does it have one? I'm making sure the jasonblair.net POH you sent me. Oh, oh, maybe I'm looking at the wrong one.
I'm the one email that you have
Uh,
supplies for.
82 Echo Papa. Okay, I was reading the wrong one, but maybe. And this is Airplane Flight Manual Supplement. Okay. KOE. Oh, this is a newer POH then.
I know. That's why I tried to like make 16 replies to the specific email so you can remember that that's me.
So this is the AFM, is what you're saying?
I
The
have
POH?
the section 6, yes, equipment list, but I don't know what type of equipment. I saw that that's kind of equipment.
Okay, so I have the ones I have are your Stratus supplement, your GPS supplement, your which one is this?
I think it's the first thing.
Okay, let me look at your email. It's the first link.
Yep.
All right, I'll look. Um, First one, Stratus. Second one.
I remember I sent 2 emails. But
Yeah, you did. So one is just the. I don't. So I have one. All I know is I have one POH from you, like aircraft POH. I have.
only one POH, yeah.
Okay. So, but I have all your supplements.
Mm-hmm.
But your POH does not have a KOL. This is the POH. Let me just send it to you on this chat. This is the POH that I have. Or I'll DM it to you. That's the POH that I have. Is that the right one?
That's it. Send it to me
And
direct.
you, yep.
Yes, it is this one.
Okay. Okay. I think I see what you're talking about. The equipment list. In section 6.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. So let's see if your Stallhorn is in here. So required items for equipment. So required standard equipment items, operate optional, and then okay, I see. Okay, stall. I could miss it, but I'm not seeing it yet. Oh, this is pretty comprehensive. I like this. Not a lot of Skyhawks have this. At least the ones that I've seen. Okay, I don't see a Stallhorn. But yes, I'm glad you do have a KOEL.
That's the kind of
Yes.
equipment list, right?
Yeah, that is the kind of equipment list. Good. Beautiful. All right. But yeah, my point still stands. Add the TCDS to that flow because there are some things that are required but might not be in your KOEL.
Okay, but even if you ask me this and I said, oh, I don't remember which one is it, she would tell me like to go search for it.
Say that again.
If it's in the type certificate that I see. You heard me. Okay.
Yeah. So you're asking if I asked you this, and then can you reword the question?
Okay. I'm with the DVE. She asked me the same question and she told me, oh, where can you find that? And it's in the type certificate that I see. Should I
Oh,
go
so
search for it?
where can you find the types to the TCDS?
Yeah, it's in
You'd
the
find it
search.
on the FI website. Yep, they're
So
all
I should
there.
go search for it. Right?
Yes. Again, like personally, if I had to go into the TCDS to see if a thing is required, then I'm just not going to go fly. If it's something like that. But it is part of it because there are things that are in 91205 or the KOEL.
But it's just based on the scenario. Why you wouldn't go fly?
Based on the scenario, right? So my scenario was the the stall warning horn, right? I wouldn't go fly.
No, I don't. Yeah, but
Yeah,
that's based on the scenario, not the actual checker, right?
yeah. But let's say your COM2 radio was inoperative. You already said you just placard it, disconnect it, placard it inoperative, right? So that part was all good. Okay, let's move on from that. I can't find any stall warning system in the KOEL for your plane. But it's a lot of words. I couldn't miss it. But I don't want to spend 20 minutes looking for it.
Yeah.
But it could be in here. Anyways, okay. Back to our plan of action. So let's say you're at an airport that doesn't have a mechanic, and you you need an annual inspection. What'd you do to ensure that you could get it to a place with a mechanic?
I actually go and get a special flight permit from the fiscal.
Special flight permit. Who would you call? Who would you contact?
The fiscal,
Fisto. Good.
and I can actually just fly less than 10 hours just to go there and get the aircraft inspected. And that special flight permit is only from point A to point B. That's the time
Yeah.
that I would take.
Point A, point B. I think point A to point B, and I believe it's like on a given day,
Mhm.
or like they give you a time frame or something like that. Um, what about 100 hour? How long can you overfly 100 hour? Can you overfly 100 hour?
To be honest, as chief pilot said, I wouldn't miss a chance to shut up if I don't know or don't remember the answer. I would check it.
Yeah, yeah. I can tell you. That way you don't have to
Okay.
go searching for it. So
Same
you
the
can
same
overfly 100 hour.
is 10 hours too.
Yeah. So the way it works is if your 100 hour was due at 100 hours tack time, okay, and then you flew
It would be just
10 hours.
minus from the next one.
Yeah, you flew. You can fly overfly. I believe like 10 hours,
And two.
but the next one is due not at 210 hours. It's due at 200 hours tack time.
Yeah. Okay,
So
I had
that's
the same answer, but I was like, no, I didn't.
one of
I
those.
wouldn't want it to know.
That's good. That's a good smart decision. Again, look it up, but where would you look it up? You don't know. I would probably have that part tabbed. Okay, so we're on to weather. All right, this is probably one of your weak points, right? Is it more
I
like
actually really studied the weak points, so I'm supposed to be the best in the weather because I
okay,
know the
good.
rest of it. But I really don't know. Whatever you're gonna ask, I will see how I act.
Okay. It's gonna be just was if your weakness was like weather theory, then I mean, we're not gonna go like crazy in depth. I think we're gonna go into what you're expected to know, right? So I'm gonna pull up. So first of all, let me ask you in terms of weather, right? How do you get your weather briefing?
I get from flight service station. I usually get from Aviation Weather Center for flight. Also, we have flight service station or government pilot or national weather center.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. So where do you get it? Like
I get it
you.
from for flight or aviation weather center.
This is what I mean by answer the question, right? Don't dig yourself.
No,
Right, just
I really don't remember which question is it, so I just try to put all the answers and
that's fine. So Ian, like he's gonna ask you how you get your flights, how you get your flight briefings. Your answer is I get mine from ForeFlight. Done. And then he says, okay, that leads me to my next question. Let him dig or her dig, right? Let them get the answer out of you because then you're not digging yourself a hole or going down a route you don't want to. So my next question is, what are considered primary sources of weather briefing? What are some other ways you can get weather briefings? And that's when you say, okay, there's flight service stations, there's aviationweather.gov, there's 1-800 weather brief, right? So that's when let them dig it out of you.
okay.
Okay. Okay. So you mentioned a flight service station, right? Let's say you're on a flight. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. So we're using the sectional. Let me go down to where you are. I assume this is your area. You're showing Crystal River. Okay, you're on your flight from Crystal River, and you want to maybe get an in-flight weather briefing. All right, where in the sectional would you find this frequency to call flight service?
I know it's kind of small or blue box, but it's. Are you showing me the place, or I can just
Yeah, so like it's on the screen right now.
Okay, let me see. Mm-mm. It's like a blue line. It's three numbers.
So what frequency would you use?
122.5.
Yeah, 122.5.
That
Right.
looks, yes.
Yeah, so again, look for VORs, right? So obviously there's the cross city VOR and it's going to be in the box. But well, on that topic, right? Let's say for some reason this is the only one that I know this one's here, but let's say for some reason you're in Utah. What does this R mean?
Now remember again.
So right, this R, like obviously this is a VOR, right, with a flight service station frequency on top of it, Cedar City flight service station. The R means that if you're using this frequency around the area of Mighton, the flight service station can only receive your transmission on this frequency. They cannot respond to you on that frequency. The way they're going to communicate to you is on the VOR frequency. So that what you do in so what you do in flight is you'd tune 122.1, you'd put COM1 mic on your comm panel, just have that activated, but you'd have to monitor your nav radio or whatever nav radio you're tuned to 122.7, and then you'd hear it. Like just like when you identify, obviously you could turn off the identifying button on your nav radio, that way you're not hearing the Morse code, but they could communicate to you that way. Okay. All right. Back to weather. Let me find a METAR for you. I have one in mind that I found the other day. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yeah,
Okay, can you read that?
the first one?
Yep, this top one.
Okay. From the beginning to the end?
Yep.
Okay.
As far as you can get.
Okay. The first thing is the airport identifier. It's the 22nd of the month at 17:50. The winds are from 180 and the speed is 9 knots. 2.5 static visibility. It's light, not haze. I don't think it's haze. Is that like snow?
So light,
Light, yeah, light what?
freezing, drizzle.
Drizzle, okay, because
Light,
I
freezing,
have on my
drizzle.
card, I have like a card with the symbols of the AWB, so, and that's mist, broken at 1000, overcast at 2400, -4 to -6 of the temperature, and
So go back. So what is this?
-4.
-4 degrees Celsius, right? What is it telling you? -4 degrees is the temperature, or
The temperature is
okay? What about this?
0.
Dew point. Sorry, I just thought like, you cut out, so I just want to make sure. Sorry.
And that's the altimeter setting is 3005 right. There's precipitation sensor, the sea level pressure for that plate for that feeling is 1018.7.
Good.
And
And the rest, I'll stop you there. Okay. If all the remarks, these are some crazy remarks, right? I would be lying to you if I told you I have all these memorized. Okay. I do know from using this specific METAR that this is inches of snow on the ground. So 0.04 inches. Anything after this, like, great if you know, but if you don't know it and you really want to know it, there are ways to find out. This T right here is just a more accurate temperature and dew point.
yeah, I know this one.
That one's pretty easy to remember. P000 is precipitation fall in the last hour, which is none. And the rest is you can look in the AIM, or there's a website called METAR Decoder that I use. the aim, the chapter and the aim that I have tabbed for especially these identifiers, if he pulls one up that you don't know, it's 7-1-28 in the aim. That chapter has all of them listed.
7 dash
So 7-1-28. That chapter is like that aim chapter is specifically on like weather reporting stations, METARs, precipitation, two-letter codes, right? So if you see like, one that you don't recognize in the moment, you can just, know where to find it. Okay. So what is this right here, this box of text? Yeah, terminal aerodrome forecast. Yep, TAF. I think you flipped it. Okay, so would you like to? Well, actually, let me. You don't have to decode the whole thing. I'm just going to give you a scenario. If we are supposed to arrive at ORD on the 22nd day of the month at 2200 Zulu, what should we be expecting in terms of weather?
The the winds are coming from 1080, and that's 15, and the speed of the flow is 28 knots. That's our goal for me because that exceeds my personal minimum. 3 miles of movability, and then light frozen. I will check the 7-1-20.
It's RA is rain. So light.
I don't know the PL.
PL is ice pellets. Again, I only know this from having that aim tabbed, and I was reading this tab, and I was like, "What is PL?" I didn't know what PL was, but I know where to find the information.
Florida, so I know.
Yeah, you'll never get that tab, but
Yeah, I need to name that.
you could get. There's one that I saw.
I told you was overcast up to 7.
Yeah, exactly. So good. I mean, I want to see that they can ask you to decode the whole thing, but they want to see that you know how to actually use tasks, right? You pick the right line to use as your forecast. If we're so 22nd day of the month, I think I said 2200 Zulu, right? So it would not be this line. It would be this line, right? Because if I'm arriving at 2200 Zulu, the forecast does not change till 2300 Zulu, right?
Can you repeat that? You said you're arriving.
So if I'm arriving on the 22nd day of the month at 2200 Zulu, this line is what I'm expecting. And
1800.
oh, you heard 1800. As long as you.
Do you want me to decode the second one?
No, it's okay. I mean, if you could decode the 1800 one, there's no different. Right, it's different visibility and frozen rain. Right. How long are TAFs good for?
24 hours to 30 hours.
30 hours. Yeah. How many days? How many times a day do they get updated? They come out
4 times, I think.
4 times a day. Yep. All right. Good. Uh, what are air mets?
Air mats are actually hazards reports. It have, I'm not gonna begin. It's hazards report for the general aviation.
What are the 3 types of air mets?
It's Sierra Tango 2.
Okay. What describe them to me? What is a Tango air met? What's a Sierra air met? What's a Zulu air met?
Okay, airness is Sierra is actually for visibility. There is IFR condition, so it's not good for me because it's IFR. For Tango, it's for turbulence and when that exceeds 30 knots. So that's when I went on my turbulence.
So you cut out. So I heard Tango air met was turbulence and surface winds of more than how much?
30.
30. Good job mentioning that because people just say turbulence, and it's not all turbulence. It's moderate turbulence because when it gets to severe turbulence is when it becomes a SIGMET. Good. So last air met. What was that last air met? You said Tango. Is it all icing or a specific? So it's moderate icing because when it gets to severe icing, it becomes a SIGMET, right? Okay. How long are air mets good for? How long?
6 hours.
6 hours. Okay. So sigmets now. Okay, what's a sigmet?
A segment is actually also a hazard report for the pilot, but all aviation, even the
Mhm.
high aviation port, it actually have two types. There's segments and convective segments. Segments are actually issued every 4 hours, and convective segments are issued every 2 hours or much as needed. The only segment have reporting if there's rain, thunder, thunderstorm, rain, hail, more than 3 over 4 diameter of the yacht, and also it
Over for what?
diameter
4 inches, 4 feet, four one.
inches.
I think it's 3/4. Yeah.
3 over 4, and yeah, and it could have also sandstorm, volcanic acid, everything would be like hazardous for us, and the segment is just the same but associated with thunder.
All right. Good. Yep. There have a lot of convective sigmets in Florida, I'm sure. I mean, I've flown in Florida, and it's every day in the summer. When I was in Florida, I was there from the month for the months of for my CFI commercial was June and July, so a lot of rain.
Bad time, yeah.
Yeah, honestly, it
But
had zero. I had zero cancellations because it rained every day, and then it moved on within 30 minutes, and then we flew. But for my multi, it was January, which was much nicer weather. It was cool and not too hot, so it was awesome. Now I'm back in New England where it's raining all winter and fall and snowing. But okay, good. I like it. Let me pull up. So mention how long tasks are good for how many times a day. So I'm going to pull up something here, a little imagery. Okay, what am I looking at?
surface analysis chart.
Surface analysis chart. Good. Okay, so let's talk about it. What is this right here?
That's the stationary.
A stationary front, you said?
Yes.
Good. Okay. What weather should we expect from a stationary front in
It's
general?
like a bad weather.
Bad weather that kind of stays around for a while, right? Um, what about this front right here?
That's a cold front.
Cold front. In general, what can we expect from a cold front?
Well, all of them are actually bad, but cold front is actually, I can expect that it would be having a good visibility behind it, and it moves fast, so I can expect bad weather, but it will move fast, like the one that
Yeah,
you just mentioned.
but more so than a warm front, cold front will produce more, I guess, higher chance of heavy rain, thunderstorms,
Thunderstorm,
convective activity. Why is that?
because do you need like the meteorological reason, or what do you want to
No,
explain?
yeah, but why? So my question, I guess, like, let me give you a more specific question. Why, more than a warm front, is a cold front associated with thunderstorms?
Is it because it moves fast?
Probably one of the reasons, but I guess a better. So what are the three? What are the three things we need for a thunderstorm to form?
Uplifting motion and visible moisture and unstable air.
Stable, yeah, unstable atmosphere. So we pull up a picture of a cold front. Um, if you look at a cold front,
Yeah, that
the
cold air
cold
moves
air,
faster.
yes, yeah, cold front's much steeper, pushes that warm air up, creating cumulus clouds, possibly creating cumulonimbus clouds into a thunderstorm, right? Yeah, I think you probably knew that answer. I just sometimes DPs again. If you don't understand a question for your check ride, ask them to ask again or reword the question because sometimes I've had an experience where like I didn't know what the heck he was asking me. You know, I knew the answer, but it took a while to get there because he was asking in such a bad way. Okay, so how does air rotate around this H? What is this H?
It's a high pressure system.
How does it? How does air flow around it?
Go clockwise down.
Okay, yeah. What about low pressure?
It's other way. It's anti-clockwise and
Yeah. So what is usually more associated with bad weather? Low pressure, or high pressure?
low pressure.
Low pressure because of that rising.
Yeah.
Good. What is this orange line? These orange lines.
That's a trough.
Okay, trough. What's a trough?
It's actually like a turbulence. We can expect turbulence.
You can expect turbulence, probably, but what is it really indicating?
Something about the wind.
It's area of low pressure, lower pressure, right? Because obviously we have these red lines, those are isobars, right?
Mm-hmm.
But troughs indicate just general areas of low pressure. Okay, so you can expect turbulence probably because there are a lot of rising air, but low pressure. Okay. I already kind of said the word, but what are these red lines? These kind of red lines scattered across
That's
the map.
isobars.
Say again.
Isobars.
Isobars. What do isobars tell us? What are they? What are they?
Basically telling us that like whatever the line is moving, it's the same pressure that those areas
Yeah,
connected to.
same pressure.
Until
Good.
next initial.
What can we expect when these isobars are close together?
High wind.
Yeah, stronger winds. Yep, exactly. Um, okay, good. What are the three stages of a thunderstorm?
There's cumulus, mature, and dissipating, and mature is the
Good.
worst one.
Yeah, mature. Yep. Um, how do we know when a thunderstorm is at its mature stage?
This is the updraft and the downdraft.
Yeah, but there's always updraft and downdrafts.
The input, maybe.
Okay, that could be one way to tell, but I guess the right answer would be just the start of precipitation is when it reaches its mature phase because the moment it starts dissipating is when it's releasing all of that water. It starts dissipating. So the start of precipitation, but I wouldn't say updrafts and downdrafts because during its cumulus stage, there's a lot of updrafts, uplifting action, right?
There's no downdraft.
There's no downdrafts, right? But for its mature stage, I guess that is a correct answer in a way, right? Updrafts and downdrafts. I just thought you meant like you just see a lot of drafts. So updrafts and downdrafts, but also the start of precipitation. Yep. Okay, cool. Let's move on from that. So, what are some different kinds of fog?
We
What
have
is fog?
fogs. Fog is actually a visible moisture or a low level cloud. So it decreases visibility. It's a pain for us as we are firefighters.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not preferred to fly. It's like very strong or very long time. There's two different types of fog. There's mist and fog, which is if the fog is more than like the visibility is more than 5/8, it's a fog, but if it's less, then it's a mist. There's actually five types of fog. There's advection from there's advection fog, steam, upslopes, and freezing fog, and the last one, advection and radiation.
Radiation. Okay. How does radiation fog work?
It's actually a warm surface and cold water. The warm surface pushing the wind. There's like wind associated, so the wind is pushed.
You're confusing it with that. You're confusing it with advection.
With that wind. So
Yeah. So advection, right, is that when you have
the
a
other way, it's advection when there's the surface is cool and then it evaporates onto the
so that's radiation. So with radiation, there's little to no wind. So important thing with fog, especially radiation fog, is that water or like the surface or ground surface does not retain heat that well,
okay.
right? So when the sun goes down,
So
you have moisture.
when the surface is cooling, the
Yeah.
start lifting up and cooling, and when it's moisture air, when it becomes fully saturated, it becomes a fluid.
Yeah, so it's no movement of like very little movement of air. Cold surface due to the sun going down, right? Surface starts cooling off, cooling the air right above the surface, bringing the air closer to its dew point until it saturates. The difference between that and advection fog is what I think you were describing at first. Is advection fog is because water holds heat much better. There's usually a light breeze involved, so you have an air parcel of air or body of air moving over a cold surface or colder surface, bringing it closer to its dew point, right? So that's the big difference between advection and radiation. So radiation, there's almost no movement of air. Radiation fog will burn off when the sun comes up as well.
Okay.
Um,
Is that a fail? If I said that, would I fail?
no, I wouldn't say you fail. I think just they might be like looking at you weird and just be like, just double check what you're describing to me because I asked you for radiation, not advection. Again, like I don't think you failed at all up to this point.
Alright.
It's just like I'm throwing you a lot of curveballs, and I think you're going to be fine. Okay, you wouldn't have failed. Again, they're not expecting perfection. They would have told you. You just described me a different type of fog. Now describe me what I asked you of, right? So if you accidentally describe advection when he asked radiation, he's like, okay, wrong one. Describe me the right one. That's what I think. Again, the only really time, not that the time that you're going to fail an oral portion of your check ride is if you're you're clearly haven't been studying and you're to the point where it's becoming like you're going to be a danger to yourself and others in terms of your knowledge. All right, but your knowledge is fine. I think again, the point of this is to find your weaknesses. Okay, maybe go over fog one more time before your check ride. Right, doesn't hurt. Okay. Let's move on from that. So I just showed you a surface analysis chart, right? Sorry, that was my plan of action. Stop sharing my screen. I just showed you a surface analysis chart, right? Where can we find a forecast of a surface analysis chart? Where can you find that information? What is that called? Yeah, so like I just showed you the surface analysis chart, right? Where can we find a forecast of their surface analysis chart?
The website or location?
Yeah, where did you find it? You can find it on multiple places.
You can find it in and for flight aviation. Okay.
Yeah. So in ForeFlight, it's their prognostic charts is the word. Okay. Prognostics charts you can find in imagery, right? And then prog charts. And then you could look at a surface analysis chart but forecasted days from now. So that's one of the ways that you can really check a forecast days ahead of time. Obviously, you can check the daily, right? But that's sometimes not reliable. Forecasts aren't 100% reliable, but you can check up to, I think, you know, like 4 or 5 days ahead for the prog charts. So I can tell you right now that, 60 out, like 4 days from now, Florida's probably going to have some rain. Wow. Who would have thunk? Not me. I wouldn't have thunk. Okay, so we talked about fog. What conditions would you expect icing to occur?
When there's visible moisture and freezing level.
Yeah, so do you have to be at or below freezing, or can icing happen at above freezing?
And if there's visible moisture, if there's prefer to stay down.
Sorry, I can't hear. I can't hear you.
I can if
Mhm.
there's no visible moisture. But
Yeah, so if there's
I
no
would
visible
prefer
moisture,
visible. Yeah, I do.
yeah. So you wouldn't get icing if it's below freezing and there's no visible moisture, right? But if you are flying through visible moisture, what is First of all, you shouldn't be. You're a VFR pilot, but you can actually get icing upwards of 5 degrees Celsius above freezing. Right. That's because of as air accelerates, there's a drop in temperature right at the surface of the wing. So you can actually pick up icing at like 5 degrees Celsius. All right. So we're kind of going to go move on to your cross-country flight plan. Again, I don't, like I can see it, right? Your flight plan that you sent me. Let me pull it up. But we're just going to ask you some questions on it.
Do you think they ask about the ice and the mist and the frost and everything?
Yeah, that's a question. That's something you want to go over as well. So, what type of icings? If you want to spend more time on it, what type of icing? What type of ice is there? Different types of ice.
We have clear, rime, and mixed.
Clear, rime, and mixed, right? What is the more dangerous type?
Rime. Clear.
Clear. Why?
Because it's so heavy. It changed the airflow over the wing, and
Well, rime does that.
it actually also clear, like you cannot see.
It's harder to see. Again, you're not wrong. I'm just giving you a little better answer here. The main reason it's more dangerous because rime and clear ice change the airflow over the wing. So that's not really, I think, is the best answer. What clear ice does that makes it much more dangerous is rime accumulates at the very leading edge, right? Clear ice is very dangerous because it'll hit the wing as water, spread over the back of the wing, and then freeze. So it'll accumulate in a much worse way. Then again, it's worse either way for you as a VFR pilot in a plane that doesn't have anti-icing capabilities. But for planes that do have anti-icing capabilities, clear ice is much more dangerous because it'll freeze over where their anti-icing cannot clear it. So clear ice is more dangerous because of the way it freezes, okay? It freezes a very sheet-like, right? It's like, I mean, you live in Florida, so I can't, I was gonna say like, oh, when you go out to your car in the morning in the winter, but I was like, wait a minute, you're in Florida. No. Anyways, so yeah, they will ask about icing. We talked about how and when you would get icing. If you flew in icing conditions or found yourself in icing conditions, unforecasted, obviously, what are some things you could do to ensure that you'd make it down safely?
If I have any anti-ice thing, everything would get in the aircraft to ensure that it's like water.
So I didn't hear that.
Pitot heat, cabin heat, any heat that I can have.
Yeah.
And also, if I have any anti-icing, I don't think we do. I heard about the rubber stuff that's on the wings, but we don't do it. We don't have this one.
Yeah, so yeah, you don't have any de-icing capabilities, right? I mean,
My aircraft
so
is supposed to fly icing.
yeah. So you mentioned the things that you have, right? You have cabin heat, you have pitot heat, you have cabin heat, pitot heat, and window defrost, right? That's pretty much it. Carb heat, right? Are you fuel injected? Is your plane fuel injected? It's carbureted, right? Okay, so you have carb heat, right? But in terms of if you got icing, you'd turn those on. What else could you do? This is kind of getting into emergency procedures, right? You would descend, okay? Would you declare an emergency if it got really bad? Yeah, I would, right? So you could descend to warmer temperature. If you're in precipitation and it just started, maybe divert, turn around, land. Also, on landing, and you are covered in ice, would you put in flaps?
Would I put flaps?
On landing, yep, when you're covered in ice. Right. I wouldn't, right? If so, the answer is like, I think the correct answer is refrain from putting in flaps because if the airport is conducive to you doing a no flap landing, Because if your wings are covered in ice, right, you no longer know your stall speed, right? It is not standard anymore. The wing is a different shape, quite literally. So putting in flaps will change the aerodynamic, you know, I guess configuration of the wing, to which you might stall if you put them in, which will change the airflow. So keep your flaps up because that's what you know, right? You know you can fly under this current configuration at this speed, and keep your speed up, right? And maybe do a little bit of faster approach to land. Okay, if you're covered in ice. Okay. All right. So anything else you kind of felt weak on for weather?
No, I don't think there are specific things unless you say
Sorry. I think you kind of I think your weather is fine.
yeah,
Okay.
I try to like study for the written
Yeah.
so I don't get any weaknesses on this because I don't need anybody to dig in answer it. But things that I didn't have
I think yeah, I think you're gonna be fine. Again, like go over maybe occluded fronts. So there wasn't any in the surface house chart today. So, but occluded fronts, different characteristics, right, of
did
fronts.
they ask the two types of position or just
I mean, I was asked. I mean, it depends on the examiner. So that's more of a gouge thing or a CFI question that knows your examiner on what they like to ask. But yep. Let me pull up your flight plan here. So you've planned a flight from Crystal River to KDAB. Where's KDAB? Let me pull up. So CGC, right?
yeah.
To all right, cool. So to Daytona Beach. How long is this flight going to take you?
Hours or
How long is it going to take you?
46 minutes and 32 seconds.
46 minutes. Okay, cool. And let's see here. How much fuel are you going to burn?
5.27.
Okay.
So
Talk me through how you found your magnetic heading.
okay. So I use for flight. I planned the route and I clicked to the heading. The magnetic heading was already added without the information or the full force. So I subtracted the deviation. No, the variation. I'm sorry. It was fixed. So, for example, my magnetic heading from the first point to the second point, so I subtracted the 6, gave me a force of 105, and then I applied the wind correction and everything else, so that gave me the temperature.
Okay, so you this is smart, and not everyone does this. So you worked backwards. You knew for flight would give you magnetic variation included. So to find your true course, you just minus your magnetic variation. E6B, good. And why did you want to get your true course in order to find your wind correction? Why not just get your magnetic heading or magnetic course?
Because it's not, I think that was the correction.
Say again?
Like, for flight doesn't add the wind correction.
Yeah, but my question is, why is it, like, why couldn't have you just gotten your magnetic course
And flight,
and then added your wind correction off magnetic course?
but it's supposed to be added after, okay.
So the answer was like, winds aloft charts are in true. They're in true. They're in true heading or true. They're oriented to true north. So when you read a winds aloft chart, they're not giving you magnetic heading. They're giving you true. That's why you have to calculate wind correction based off your true course, not your magnetic course. Now, I'm not saying that's what you did. I'm just saying that's why you should do it that way. And I've seen actually through these mock orals, I was looking at a student's navlog yesterday, and I asked that same question, and he what he did was he plotted his course, then he added his magnetic variation, then he did his wind correction, and that's not how that would bring you to a very incorrect heading, because you did your wind correction based on winds that were giving to you in true north, and then corrected it based on a course that was corrected for magnetic north. So good, you did it the right way. That's why we follow the navlog, and the order that the navlog tells us. Okay, so your wind correction angle looks like it was 3 degrees, giving you true core. So you went direct to, let's see, KINF from CGC. So KINF.
Can you share your screen?
Yep.
It's not gonna...
Yeah, make it easier for us. So turn off all these. Okay, so KINF was your first point, and that was a distance of 7. No, so total. So 7 miles to your top of climb, and then another 8 miles to Inverness, right? Can you see Inverness right as you depart the airport? So when you depart Crystal River, right? I assume if you've ever been there before, do you think you'd be able to spot Inverness right as you depart?
I think yes. I didn't fly to Inverness. I fly to Marin County. But yes, it's easy to pick them. But
As long as you can see it,
yeah,
right?
it's
So
actually a very good visual point. The
good.
obstacles
Okay.
aren't good anymore.
Yeah. The reason I ask is because big part about this first part of your check ride is both he's testing for dead reckoning, right, which is your timing and your heading calculation and making sure you're within 5 minutes over your first point. But he's also testing you for pilotage, right? Visual points, okay? So at any point during your navlog, if you lose your heading and you get lost, you should be able to fly to your next point because it's a visual point. So he's going to have you, or she, whoever your DP is, they're going to have you do your first leg of your navlog. So they're going to have you fly on a heading of, you calculated 117, right? As your magnetic heading. So 117, they're going to have you fly to your first point. And if your maybe calculations are wrong, let's say you bust, right? So 117, you fly to magnetic. So yeah, that would take you to Inverness, but maybe you calculate wrong and you fly this way instead. Okay, if you just blindly follow that magnetic heading, you're going to fail your check ride. So that's why I really advocate, again, as long as it's something you could see right away, because if you're flying on this heading, you're like, okay, this is not looking good, but I see Inverness, let me correct and fly towards it. That also satisfies. It doesn't matter. Like if your actual heading is like not what you really calculated, but you're flying to your first point and you're within 5 minutes of what you calculated for time for that leg, then great. That still satisfies that part of the check ride because it's pilotage and dead reckoning. Okay. For my private pilot check ride, I did not follow a heading. I just saw the point and flew towards it and started a timer, and he was okay with that because it's pilotage. And that means I'm starting the rest of my navlog from a known location. Okay. So on the topic of navlogs, yep, I meant to. Can you? Let's see. We're looking at your route here. I guess I can share my screen one more time.
I'm sorry.
So we're looking at our route here. Obviously, this might not be the exact route that you took, but what are some, in terms of airspace, right? Like, or hazards on your route, what are some things that you're really thinking about on your route?
Altitude, ceiling, visibility, temperature, airspace, visual airspace, equipment that we have to satisfy the airspace. And I think that's it.
Okay, yeah, I like those answers. Okay, so airspace, right?
Mhm.
In terms of like a right as you depart Crystal River and at Inverness, what are some hazards that you might encounter at Inverness and Crystal River? What was that?
There's aerobatic flying. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, aerobatic flying and glider activity, right? And there are gliders out there that don't need transponders, right? So that's a hazard for sure. Okay, right? This is something that you wanted to talk about, right? What airspace do you need? Do you need a transponder in this area?
What area?
Like right around the area of Inverness, Crystal River, this area right here. Do you need a transponder?
I don't. What?
Oh, did you answer? I thought
Yes, I did. I said I don't.
you don't. You don't need a transponder. Exactly. Okay, good. You don't, right? So,
Just let me know if you didn't hear my answer because I was like,
yeah, I was waiting for your answer. I was like, hello?
I thought that you said I'm wrong, so I was like, did I say something wrong?
No, you don't need a transponder. Exactly. So, you could have a glider or aerobatic aircraft out here that don't have a radio, don't have a transponder. You have no idea that they're there until maybe. Yeah, exactly. So that happened to me the other day. I fly in Massachusetts, and this is my home airport, K-Bed, and I was flying around here with a student practice area, and then I'm like right here, like maybe just north of Sterling, and then 200 feet below us, a glider flies right by us, and I'm like, I never saw it coming. 200 feet, 200 feet. That's technically a near miss. So definitely want to be on the lookout for gliders in this area. Okay. And then along the rest of your route, what other things? What is this? What's this little thing right here? What are you concerned about here?
That's parachute jumping, so I'm expecting
Good.
some
Yeah.
paragraphs. And everywhere else we have a
Yeah.
bunch of those. Everything.
Yeah. A lot of parachutists around. All right. What is this area?
Restricted area.
A restricted area. Okay. Can you fly through that?
No.
No, you cannot. What about where would you find the where to find more information if you had a paper sectional? Where would you find more information on the altitudes and the controlling agencies of
If
these
you have a paper, probably I think it would be in the supplements. But
in the legend?
yeah, I actually just click on the post
Yeah,
report.
yeah, you could just click on it, and I think nowadays that answer is just fine. Okay, good. All right. Okay, going back over to Crystal River. When does controlled airspace start?
Control their space.
Yep.
Store the altitude. Oh, okay, I was like, what?
Yeah.
Um,
The altitude.
the faded port it starts from 700 foot, and the solid port starts from 1,200 foot. You heard me right?
Yeah, 1,200. Yeah, 1,200 feet. Good. Yeah, I heard you. Okay, good. All right. Let's say.
Wanted to let you know that my examiner loved to ask so much stuff about the samples, so just
Good. So you're confident on it? You want me just to?
I think I am, but we're gonna
All
see,
right.
you
Well,
know?
okay.
Not
Let's.
that we're splitting, not that we're splitting.
Okay. So you've seen this before.
I have.
Uh, when does control airspace start right here
It's
in this
from
area?
the solid port is from 1,200 and faded. Oh wait, no, it's the other way. The faded port is from 1,200 and the solid port is from 14,500.
I didn't hear that altitude for the second part.
14,500.
14,500. Okay.
Yep.
14,500, yes.
That's right. Right.
That's class golf until 14,500 until it gets to class echo.
From what
All right.
altitude it says echo?
So it goes golf on the ground all the way to 14,500 MSL, and then echo starts.
Ah, okay, below as well. Okay, but I'm saying like
Yes.
whatever the blue shaded airspace, that's echo.
Yeah. So it's just like the magenta line, but much higher. So on this side of the blue faded line is echo starts at 1200 AGL. On this side, echo starts at 14,500 MSL.
So below it, it's golf.
Below that is golf. Okay, so okay, let's go to here. Let's say you're on the ground here, just right here on the ground. Okay, what airspace are you in on the ground?
On the ground, echo.
On the ground?
Yeah.
You're in golf on the ground.
Oh,
Right here? Like, say pretend you're just on the ground here.
oh.
At maybe Yankee Lake, you're on the ground. On the ground, you're in golf because you are on the solid side of this magenta line, right? So you're on the ground, golf until what altitude?
It's from 0 to 1199.
Yeah,
Wait,
and
but it also have Bravo and Charlie, so it just stops whenever the other airspace comes.
yeah, so it goes golf to, and then 1,200 feet, you're in echo, and then 1,200 feet till when are you in another airspace?
1,200 feet. It's 1,200 feet, and then it's still echo until 1,300.
To 1,300, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So it goes golf on the ground till 1,200 feet,
And then echo
and then
to
1,200.
100 foot.
Yeah, so there's 100 feet of just uncontrolled class echo, which is crazy that you technically don't have to talk to anyone there. Okay, and then you're in Charlie until what altitude?
3,000.
3,000. You said you cut out.
3,000. Because
Okay.
that's above the other.
Yep. And then you're in what airspace until?
Okay.
So you're in the Charlie until when? Or you're in the Bravo until when?
Okay, so from Charlie in 1300 until 2,999. That's Charlie. After that, that's Bravo.
Okay, and then what are you if you were above 10,000 feet? What altitude? What airspace are you in?
Echo.
Echo. Okay. Good. And then above that, what airspace are you in? Until when?
Echo ends at 17,999,000. And then we have class alpha, starts from 18,000 until 60,000, and after that it's also echo.
Okay. Yeah, good. All right. Let's say you are flying under the Charlie Shelf of Charleston International. Do you need a transponder?
Yes, because of the veil. It have a mode C around.
There's no mode Cville.
Well, we need to have transponder mode C anyway, and we also need to have.
So if I was in an aircraft, if I was in an aircraft at 1,100 feet, flying under the Charlie, you do not need a transponder. You do not need a transponder
Because it's echo.
because it's under the Charlie. You do need a transponder when you are flying over the Charlie.
If I'm above it, not below.
Yeah. So if you above Charlie, so anytime I say transponder, you also need ADS-B in it out. Okay. So let's just get that out of the way now. Let's just set that rule. So If I'm above the Charlie, I need a transponder and ADS-B out, right? So what if I'm in class Echo? Do I need a transponder in class Echo?
And echo in general, though, if the echo inside Charlie, um, I'm gonna say no.
So if you're so ADS-B transponder. Um, if you're above 10,000 feet, you do need transponder, no matter what. So there's a diagram that I found.
But you said below, right?
No, I didn't say below. I just said in general.
Ah,
So in general, yeah, you were right. In general, you don't need a transponder in Class Echo airspace.
above 10,
But if you are flying above 10,000 feet MSL, you do need a transponder in Class Echo.
even.
Okay. Yep. What about do I need a transponder in Punta Gorda here? Do I need a transponder?
You transponder 80 out of the units.
So yes or no?
Yes.
You do not.
Why?
You don't need a transponder in a Class Delta. You just need a two-way radio, and then your aircraft needs to be airworthy. It's pretty much the only requirement.
I don't need also transponder and ADSB out of the Charlie and Bravo.
Yep. So I mean, I need to find that.
I think it's for the same.
Let me find the diagram here. Okay, let me share my screen. Oh, here it is. Okay. This diagram kind of tells you when you do and when you don't need an ADS-B or a transponder. So when it says ADS-B required, I'm going to also include transponder. Okay. So let's start from the bottom here. So Class Bravo airspace, you need a transponder when you are within 30 nautical miles of the Class Bravo. We know that, right? The Mode Z Veil. For a Class Charlie, like I mentioned before, if you're under a shelf here, you don't need a transponder. But if you are flying above it, you need it from the surface all the way up to 10,000 MSL, and then even above. Okay. Class Echo, ADS-B required, 3,000 MSL to 10,000 MSL if you are 12 nautical miles from the coastline. All right. And then in Class Echo, 10,000 MSL and above, ADS-B required, but that's for the continental United States only. I don't believe that applies to Alaska. Alaska has its own kind of requirements. However, if you're like in high, altitude environments like Alaska or I guess parts of like the Rockies and that are above 10,000 feet, but you are below 12,000, 2,500 AGL, you do not need a transponder or ADS-B.
Okay.
And then obviously Class Alpha, it's required. All right, this is from the FAA. This is the FAA website. So this diagram is from it. Like big ones for your airspace in Florida. You don't need a transponder. There's a lot of Class Charlies in Florida. At Daytona Beach, you fly to one, right? You fly to Daytona Beach? Oh, I thought you said you did. You said like Zephyr Hills, but anyways. But Daytona Beach,
I never
right? Class
flew
Charlie.
Charlie or everything else is fine. Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, no.
So if you're flying under Daytona Beach, you don't need one,
Okay.
but you do need one for above it. Okay. So, all right, let's move on. So we're coming up on our time here, but I don't mind going a little bit over. I really don't, if you don't mind. Okay, let's see. So on your route that you picked, obviously Florida is a very congested, congested area, right? A lot of options you have here in terms of alternates, right? But let's say on your route you lose comms, right? Your radios just go dead, right? What would you do?
Where exactly in my route or in a specific airspace?
Let's say you're just north of Leesburg.
If I lost comms, I'll actually try to land in the airport next to me.
You try to
And
land at Leesburg?
yes, because I will. I know it might be crazy, but that's what I will be waiting for. The light signals. I'll go turning around that tower so they can know that I lost communications and I don't have electricity. And of course, I will go over my checklist for the emergency stuff. But for the landing part, I will go around the tower because in the other fields, I don't know how would I get off the place, go to contact, where can I go off like this? I'll be
Okay.
away from the airport.
So, all right, you mentioned so you lose your comms right here, right? And you said you'd circle the tower, which is great, right? What altitude did you circle the tower?
Above the pattern of
Yeah. So if pattern altitude is 1,000 feet, what would you circle at? I didn't hear you. If you said anything.
No, I didn't say anything, but yes.
Oh. So if pattern altitude is 1,000 feet, what would you circle the airport,
I
the
would
tower at?
aim above that.
Okay, so like I would say like 2,000 feet, probably 1,000 feet above pattern altitude. What would you? So is that all you would do? What's one big thing that you'd have to do to make sure that the tower knows that you have no communications?
Clock 760 if I still have it.
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, if you still have a transponder, which you may or may not have, right? If you lose your radios, you might be an electrical failure. Okay, that's not a bad answer. That's a safe answer. You'd land at a class Delta and land, right? You'd wait for the light gun signals and follow your checklist, great. But if you're not in control airspace, what's stopping you as well from just turning around and returning back to Crystal River?
I don't know what's coming out of connected
Yeah.
traffic.
So you don't know who's in, but again, do you need a radio flying in and out of Crystal River?
I don't need to. That's
You do not.
that's the point. Like that's what makes it not safe. That's why I say Delta because the tower can stop the other aircraft. I cannot do because I
Yeah.
cannot see.
That's why I think your answer is a correct answer, and that's a totally fine answer. But also, a lot of people might argue like, why not just return back to the non-towered field you came from because you don't need a radio? But an examiner is going to take the answer. You're going to circle, land. It's a good, safe answer. Okay. Let's see. So on your route that you've picked, right, your nav log, what are the required? What are the things you need to make sure you prepare or plan around before any flight? What's the regulation I'm talking about here?
I don't have an NW craft.
Yeah. So NW craft, yes, but what regulation is that?
I don't know what
So I would have this one tabbed 91103, brief required pre-flight action. That's a big one.
113.
103. Yep. 103. That's where you're getting the NW craft acronym, right? That's how we know that if we're leaving the vicinity of an airport, we need to check the weather, we need to check NOTAMs, our performance calculations, known ATC delays, go through the acronym there, but it's 91103. It's like saying a tomato flames if you say NW craft, in my opinion. It's like on that same level,
Okay.
right? So
I just didn't know the regulation.
yeah, that's definitely, well, now you know.
Okay.
Okay. So, all right, now we're kind of going to go on to, you wanted to kind of focus in on, I guess, operational limitations, right? Read that. Um,
I mean, just
system,
I'm not expecting also perfection in those parts because it's like really new stuff for me.
yeah,
I'll
that's
try
fine.
my best.
So I looked over your weight and balance. Everything looks fine. Just be ready for them to give you a new weight and balance scenario and have you calculate a new weight and balance. So obviously, I assume you know how to do that. So I'm not going to give you a new one. We're not going to waste time on that.
Just a quick question for the forward CG and
Yep.
I'm actually like really confused sometimes for the takeoff forward CG and the CG. I'm just choosing whatever the weight, for example, the takeoff weight, and I took off was this exact weight. I will go to the weight and balance in the QH and check the envelope and get the weight and then drop it, and that's my forward CG, right?
That is your takeoff CG. So I'm looking here, right? You calculated your gross takeoff weight CG and your gross landing takeoff CG. And then it has you write your limitations, so like your max forward and your max aft. Is that what?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So the maximum CG is at 2,100. The envelope is like kind of like
Yeah, so what you do is you go on the POH and just plot where 40.3 is, and then where 40.2 is, and that's how you know if you're within your CG.
I did put it. Where should I go? To the weight, right?
So let me pull up your POH.
Okay. Can you share the screen too? Second.
Yeah, I'll pull it up and then I'll share my screen. Sorry, I'm still scrolling. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna share my screen in 2 seconds here. I just gotta rotate this so it's not sideways. Find it again. Section 6, weight and balance. All right. It's upside down. Amazing.
It's not this one. It's something like this. It's near. Yeah, this one. No.
Yeah, I just saw it and it keeps disappearing.
Yeah. It's up, 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 no, no, up.
Up.
You're going down, yeah. That's section 7. Yep.
There we go. Okay,
Yeah.
good. So
Yeah.
this is where you'd plot it, right? So let's look at so tell me your max takeoff weight. So tell me your takeoff weight
My takeoff
that you
weight
calculated.
was 2,101.4.
So like this line right here.
Yeah, so when it hit the envelope. Yep.
So yeah, different color. So this is your line. Okay, so just draw a line through it like this. And then what's your CG that you calculated? 40.2, right? Or 40.3. Okay. Oh God, Jesus Christ. There we go. Your CG lies right here. That is within the envelope, right?
Okay.
So you are.
I think I did it wrong for this one. Or I just don't.
I don't think you did because I'm looking at your.
Because the limitations for takeoff forward CG, what I actually did, I hit the 2,100, but when I hit the envelope, I went perpendicular to it.
Oh, okay, so yeah, limitations. Your forward CG limitation is 35. It's pretty much what you wrote.
Yeah, I wrote 35 point.
Oh, 0.5. Okay, yeah, I guess.
But that's for the takeoff. For the landing, it was different. But
So,
do you understand what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like, I'm saying that when I did the weight, I just hit the envelope and went.
Oh, so okay, I see. So it's for your weight. So yes, your forward CG limitation at your takeoff weight. I've just never seen a weight and balance where it has you write your limitations like that because you can just see it on the envelope. But it makes sense. So your forward CG limitation for your weight of 2,100 pounds is 36.5 ish. So you should have wrote 36.5, and your aft CG is 47.3. So that's what you did wrong. Okay, and then your landing, whatever your CG is at landing, So I assume your landing, you kind of wrote it's,
I wrote the same thing exactly for both.
yeah, because you're not burning like almost any fuel for this flight, so
Mhm.
it's pretty much the same. Okay. It really gets to be, it really matters when you're like maybe super fully, forward CG or aft CG, and then throughout your flight, you because of your fuel burn, you end up your CG starts going forward because you're burning some fuel. So sometimes your CG looks like either goes backwards depending on where the moment is or the datum plane is. So throughout the flight, your CG will move. So that's why they calculate your landing CG and your takeoff CG. But you did the calculation, right? Just looking at it.
Okay, so for forward CG, I should have row 6.5 instead of 3.
Yeah, I think that's what they meant by
I don't know
forward.
how I missed it. But, like, that was
Yeah, I think you just looked at the line right here, but since it's curved like that, yeah, you want to know your limit, your forward CG limitation at your takeoff weight. Okay.
just wanted to make sure that I do it right, so I don't
Yeah,
something.
understandable. So on the topic of CG, what are some characteristics of a forward CG?
What characteristic?
So like, what can we expect? What can we expect from a very forward CG in terms of how the plane will perform?
Oh, okay. It would have it would be more stable
Mhm.
and it would be easy to recover from a stall.
Yeah.
And actually, I always really miss which one is higher and which one is lower stall speed. But I'm gonna say it would need lower stall speed.
So for forward CG, you'd actually have a higher stall speed because of the tail down force from the elevator required. So the required angle of attack to maintain level. So you'd be more stable, right? You'd for easier stall recovery. You'd actually have a higher fuel burn because that elevator is creating more lift, creating more drag.
Mhm.
But I'd rather have a forward CG than an aft CG because of that stability, right?
And also the FCG is actually if the FCG is here.
Yeah.
So basically that would lead the aircraft to be up like this because the FCG is here. So it would be very good CG for the first country because it would reduce the fuel and
Yeah.
you don't need to touch the
Because
elevator
that
because it's actually the
well,
elevator
yeah.
for you.
The elevator is
Yeah.
doesn't have to produce as much downforce.
Okay, so
So
probably
no,
that would need lower stall speed.
it would lower the stall speed, yeah.
Okay, I'll just say that.
Slightly. Um,
Not very much, yeah.
so okay. I like it. Let me move on there. So now we're on to you know, systems and or performance and limitations. So what is density altitude?
Density altitude is basically whatever the aircraft feels it's flying.
I like that definition. Right, that's a better definition than
Not the non-correct
pressure.
pressure
Yeah,
altitude.
because no one knows. I mean,
Yeah.
I know what that means, but why does that matter, right? It matters because of how the aircraft feels, right? So I like that definition. Okay, what are the two principles of lift?
We have the third law and we have Greenpeace principle.
Okay, good. What is drag?
It's basically the opposite of thrust.
Okay, what are the two types of drag?
We have parasite and we have inductive.
What are the three types of parasite drag?
We have form, we have interference, and also we have skin friction.
Skin friction. Okay, what is maneuvering speed?
It's 96. So
Okay, so that's your speed, but what is maneuvering speed? Define it for me.
it's the aircraft's whatever the aircraft can perform maneuvers and smooth air without damaging the aircraft.
Yeah, I like that definition. It's also I would kind of describe it as the speed at which you can fly at or below the speed at which you can fly, in which you if you were to fully deflect a control surface, the plane will stall first before reaching structural damage. Because the stall is your protection, right? So you mentioned structural damage, which is good, but how does it protect from structural damage, right? The plane will stall first. Okay, here's where people kind of lose maneuvering speed a little bit. Why does it change with weight? Right, because when you look at your POH, you have a
It does have actually like if we're flying on different moving speed and then steeper, I'm going to have a
so you cut off for the majority of that sentence. So
it's gonna double or affect the force basically. If I'm
okay,
gonna
so
get steep turn with maneuvering speed, this is gonna affect the
yeah, I mean, my question, no. So why does maneuvering speed decrease with weight? So if you look at your POH and you look at maneuvering speed, you have a maneuvering speed at max gross weight, and you have maneuvering speed at like a lower weight.
yeah, they're different. Yeah.
There's two. It's a range, right? It's not just one speed. Why does it change with weight?
Okay. I'm gonna use my smart answer, not based on aviation. I'm just gonna use my brain. It's
Okay.
basically because if you hold something, you would need more power to lift it. But if you don't have that
Yeah,
much
you're absolutely on the right track there. Okay, I'm going to explain it a little more
in
in
aviation.
depth in aviation. And I'm going to do that with Microsoft Paint so I can draw.
Alright.
Share my screen for Microsoft Paint. Okay, so we're going to have two aircraft here. So I'm going to split this page down the middle. We're going to have a plane at 2,000 pounds, and we're going to have a plane that's heavier, 3,000 pounds. So what we're going to talk about, it's all load factor, okay? Load factor, all right? So this plane maybe has a maneuvering speed of 100 knots. And this plane, the maneuvering speed goes up 20 knots to 120 knots, okay? Now where the question is, why does that happen? Okay, well, let's think about the wing, okay? For this plane, the 2,000 pound plane, maybe the wing doesn't have to produce as much lift, right? So it has a very shallow or small angle of attack, right? Because the heavier the plane is, the more lift it has to create to maintain straight and level flight, correct? But this plane, the 3,000 pound plane, maybe has to, this is very aggressive and exaggerated, but maybe in straight and level flight, that plane has to have a higher angle of attack to maintain straight and level. But what's one thing we know about stall? It doesn't change. We stall. We can stall any speed, right? But we always stall at the same critical angle of attack, right? So let's say, just for example, the critical angle of attack is this angle right here, 20, maybe 20 degrees or something. Okay. Same for both planes. This is the same plane, just different weight configurations. Okay. So think of maneuvering speed as a buffer or a protection against your max positive G load of, I think in the Cessna, it's 3.8 Gs. Max positive. Okay. If you exceed 3.8 Gs, you will reach structural damage. So let's say for this plane, the 2,000 pound plane, you're flying at 120 knots. And then someone grabbed your yoke and fully pulled it back all the way as fast as they could. There is more time between your straight and level angle of attack to the critical angle attack, right? So there's more time for the wings for you to feel those G's and the G forces to increase. So there's more time for the plane to get to 3.8 G's, right? But for the 120 or the 3,000 pound plane going 120 knots, you can basically saying you can fly faster and the plane will stall before reaching 3.8 Gs. So think of maneuvering speed as like a buffer, okay? So if we're going yeah, you can fly faster. You can fly faster and do maneuvers because there's no way that you are going to reach 3.8 Gs at this weight configuration before stalling, right? So if we're going 100 knots in the 2,000 pound plane, we fully aft the stick, we're not going to reach 3.8 Gs before reaching 20 degrees of angle of attack and stalling. So The aircraft stalling is its protection. It's unloading the force on the wings when it stalls. And that goes back to 1G, right? 1G is just what you feel on any given day or in straight level flight. You're not feeling any heavier, right? Does that make sense?
Yep.
Cool. So it goes down with weight, goes up with weight because of that
If I want
law.
to say it in the more simple stuff, what should I say? Like in one sentence.
So, yeah, that's a good question, right? So if he asks why is the change of weight, you could respond, it's all about load factor of the wings or of the aircraft, right?
Oh, that was what I was trying to explain, but I said G's instead of load factors. I'm sorry.
Well, the G and load factor are related, the same. So in terms of how you explain it, it's, you can give the example like, here, let me give you a comparison, okay? If you're in a small fishing boat and a tsunami hits you, or not a tsunami, but a wave hits you, that fishing boat might capsize, right? But if that same wave hits a cruise liner, that cruise liner might fare a little bit better. It's kind of the same concept. But in terms of explaining it in like aviation terms, it's all about load factor. The aircraft that is lighter in straight and level flight has a shallower angle of attack. So when I fully deflect a control surface, there is more time for us to reach that positive G load before stalling. But for the heavier plane, there is a higher angle of attack in straight and level, and if you fully deflect the control surface, there's less time, so we can actually fly faster before reaching structural damage. Okay. Does that make sense? Do you have any questions? Again, explaining it as,
Because like I didn't hear that before, so
yeah. So yeah, I think be able to like kind of talk about why that is, right? It goes down with weight, and they're not expecting you to be a CFI and teach that, right? But have that basic understanding. Okay. So on to like systems. I mean, we talked about, know, you wanted to go over, the G5, right? So
if you can ask me every 14 days, yes, about the distance, actually give me.
okay, let me pull up the ACS.
And the same for human factors. Do we have anything else except those two?
Nope, just those two. So we'll kind of cruise through them.
No.
So for systems, let me pull it up. What the heck? Okay. So, all right, what are your primary flight controls?
I have ailerons, elevator, and
Okay. Ailerons, elevator. Is that it?
rudder.
Rudder. Okay, that's the part where you cut out. What are your secondary flight controls?
Flaps and trim.
Flaps and trim. All right. Good. What type of engine do you have?
I have light coming engine.
Oh, like homing what?
Light coming engine. They don't like.
What type? Yeah, like tell me what type of engine you have. Like describe to me your engine.
Single engine. Okay. Basically, I have a light coming engine. The type of engine. Oh, the type of engine is 03200. The
Okay, good. Yeah.
0 H2AD, which stands for O is horizontally opposed. 320 is the displacement of it in cubic inches.
Okay.
And also we have
I like that. I was going to ask that, but again, do not answer more than the question. But again, but I like that. I was going to ask that.
You asked because when I said like homing, you were like, okay, what's the next step?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is like
So
homing.
it is like homing. It is like homing. It is. I was looking for the O320, like homing O320. Okay. You said horizontally opposed. What does horizontally opposed mean? There, the what is? What is that?
The combustion, I think.
The combustion.
Yeah, for inside the thing.
So it's the way the cylinders are oriented. So the cylinders are not vertical, like some cars.
Like this, yeah.
They're vertical, and they oppose each other. So there's two cylinders on this side, two cylinders on this side. They're horizontally positioned in the plane.
That's not right. But it's like the same spot, but different thing, right?
So what you were describing was like, I guess,
Inside the engine itself.
inside. So again, you talk about combustion. What are the four strokes of an engine?
We have power, compression. Oh, we have intake, compression, power, exhaust.
Okay, good. All right. So more about your engine. All right. So it's horizontally posed. You describe me what that is. How does it? How does it get cool? How does it cool off your engine?
It is actually air cooled.
Air cooled.
Yeah, it's horizontally opposed, air cooled, naturally aspirated, direct drive, and also carbureted.
Okay. So what does naturally aspirated mean?
Okay, none of those I really like. Don't remember any of those.
So this is a weakness for you then.
Yeah.
Okay, so naturally aspirated, right? So what do we do when we climb very high altitudes? What do we have to do with the mixture?
We pull it full.
Yeah, we lean out the mixture in climbs, right?
No,
Obviously at floor
we pull it full
in a climb.
Yeah.
So if you're at 10,000 feet, you're gonna have mixture full rich.
No, if I'm cruising, no. If I'm climbing, yes.
So here's where this is why it's important to talk about this stuff, right? So if you're at 10,000 feet and you want to climb to 11,000 feet and you go mixture full rich, you're losing a lot of power. So
Yeah,
it's mixture as we're
air
for
density. I know it's about the air density part. If
yeah.
it's less air molecules, I don't need the full mixture. But if I'm climbing, I really that
I
would
mean, in that scenario, 10,000 feet, I wouldn't climb with full rich, especially in a naturally aspirated engine, right? If you look at your climb checklist, right? Let's see the climb checklist. Does it say? Let's see if it says mixture full rich. I don't think it will. It's mixture. I think it'll say mixture as required because you might even have a climb checklist in the POH. I don't know. Anyways, en route climb 4-8. 4-8, 4-8. So en route climb checklist. Okay, airspeed 70 to 85 knots indicated. Throttle full open. So here's where it says mixture rich above, in quotation or in parentheses it says, actually let me share my screen so you can see what I'm reading. Or en route climb, throttle full open, mixture rich, but then it says in parentheses, above 3,000 feet, lean to obtain maximum RPM. So above 3,000 feet, you might not be full rich. Why? Because we are naturally aspirated. You're not fuel injected. It's because of the carburetor, right? So obviously you understand how air density works. That if we have air that is at sea level, in Florida, you're the flattest state in the country, so you're always at sea level. But sea level, and then we have the air at 10,000 feet. Okay, so let's think about the air molecules, right? We have air molecules scattered at sea level, right? They're kind of like, close together, right? But as you climb, air gets less dense, so now you have. Oh, geez, thank you. So it's not much. It's just a bunch of dots. But so sea level, right? Here's your air molecules. They're tighter. They're much closer together. But as you climb at 10,000 feet, the air gets less dense. So maybe the air's like this, right? It's more spread out. Okay. And because we have a carburetor, which we'll talk about in a second, and I don't care we're going over if you don't care. It's not like I'm charging you any extra. But if we're at 10,000 feet, air is less dense, right? And let's think about let's think about the carburetor, right? The carburetor mixes fuel and air, correct? All right, so at sea level, your fuel is mixed in with the air after it passes through the carburetor, right? But as we climb, that air gets less dense. So if you have mixture full rich at 10,000 feet, you have the same amount of fuel, but less air. So now you have an overly rich fuel to air mixture, which is actually going to decrease your performance because you need air to combust in the cylinders. You need air. So that ratio is now off. So that's why if you go full rich at 10,000 feet, you're going to lose a lot of power. Or in the worst case scenario, if you're really, really high, you're going to lose your engine until you get back down to closer to sea level. Okay. That's why we lean as we climb, not just when we get into cruise.
Well, I thought that because I really don't climb that high, about like 4,000, I really don't climb. Like the first time I
I
flight
mean,
high,
if you fly, if you
4,000.
fly, if you fly to, especially on a hot day, you're in Florida, like it's hot, right? So
The first
if
time I cannot go down again.
yeah, so
Very
if it's really hot out and you're at sea level here and you want to climb to 4,000 feet, right? And this is where you hit 3,000 feet. I would have mixture full rich, and then once you pass 3,000 feet, start leaning just a little bit to maintain max RPMs. Because you'll notice if you climb past, especially on a hot day in Florida, if you climb past 3,000 feet with mixture full rich, you're not getting the max amount of power that your engine can get. Again, 4,000 feet, if you're a mixture full rich all the way to 4,000 feet, it's not a big deal, right? But it will become a big deal if you get into that habit and you climb higher to like 8,000 feet, which your Cessna can absolutely climb up to, you know.
Okay.
It just might take a while. So it's not a hard rule for you as a private pilot that you keep mixture full rich whenever you're climbing. It's not that straightforward. It's much more nuanced and it's not that simple, right? We are leaning for maximum RPM in the climb. If you're above, and the general rule of when to do that is when you're above 3,000 feet at MSL,
Well, that's a good
it,
thing that you
AGL.
told me.
Yeah. Normally aspirated, right? The way I describe normally aspirated is the air on the outside of the engine is the same air that the engine is using. So as you climb, you will get less engine performance. Inversely, there are aircraft that are turbocharged that have a turbine or turbo in the engine that compresses the air. That way they don't have to worry about that high altitude. They still get the same performance. Okay. All right. So normally aspirated, horizontally opposed. You said direct drive. What does direct drive mean?
It goes everything. Okay. That's like
The way I the way I describe direct drive is they're like in a car. So next time you're in your car, you know how your car has you can see how many RPMs your engine is doing? Right? When you rev the engine, sometimes the RPMs will shoot up, but that doesn't necessarily mean your wheels are turning that fast, right? That means that the wheels are catching up. But there is a gear reduction within your car engine. But that's not direct drive means however fast the engine is turning is how fast your propeller is spinning. It's directly connected. There's no gear reduction. Okay. All right. Back to the ACS. We'll crank through it. So landing gear. What type of landing gear do you have?
the cycle.
Tricycle landing gear. Okay.
Excuse my
How?
Egyptian accent.
It's okay. You said tricycle, right? Good. Um, okay. How's your? Talking about your fuel system.
Okay. We have actually 43 gallons of fuel. 3 of them are unusable. It's included in the daily rate, and the other 40 are usable. It's actually gravity fed, so it's from the wings by gravity flow to the engine.
Okay.
And we can loaded fuel that's actually good, and the other
Okay.
half of it is 100, which is green, which is very
Okay.
rare
Good.
to find. I have never seen it.
All right, good. How many? What is a gasculator? What does the gasculator do?
That's what. What is it?
Gascolator. What does the gascolator do?
I don't know. What's the
So you have a sump. You sump your fuel, right? You sump your right wing, your left wing tank, and then you sump your a third sump point, right?
yeah,
Down below.
yeah.
What are you sumping? That's not a fuel tank, right? Yeah,
I don't. That's the
there's not.
gascolator.
That's yeah, it's
Gascolator.
a gascolator. Let me
Gascolator. Okay.
gas. So all the gascolator really is a fuel uh, filter.
Okay.
It filters the fuel. It's the last point.
Oh, the down port.
Yeah, it's the last point before it enters the engine. Okay, that's why we sump it, because if any sediments or water, anything were to enter your engine, that's the last place you'd find it before turning on the plant. That's why we sump the gascolator. Okay. All right. So that's what the gascolator is. It's the last point, fuel filter. All right. Um, do we have any hydraulic systems in your aircraft?
We do have the brakes.
Okay. Good. Brakes. All right. Talk to me. How does your electrical system work?
How does it work?
Yeah. What? Talk to me about your electrical system. Battery, whatever. Is it battery powered or?
Yeah, we have 28 volt electrical system, and we have 60 amps for the emitter for the alternator, and we also have 24 battery amps and used for
All right.
spare hours.
Okay.
And
Um, how does uh how does the engine start? Like, what do you do when you start the engine? How does it actually end up catching? And it's like think about the actual, yeah, the
when the
battery.
engine starts or when I
Yeah.
messed up,
Yeah. So what powers, what's, what powers the engine?
what powers the engine? The battery.
Sorry, you
The
cut
battery.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, and after that, it's the alternator. The alternator keep moving while the engine is moving, and send the the, the electricity to the battery to charge it in case of electric failure. We have the backup issue for the battery.
Okay. Um, so if we, yeah, so I think you mentioned that you cut out, but if we lost our electrical system, well, the engine keeps running, or does it not?
Yeah, it will because it's separated have magnetos. That's not electric.
Yeah. So would you say magna what?
Magneto, magneto.
Magnetos. Okay. So magnetos, yeah, they're independent systems, right? They're independent electrical systems that power. How many spark plugs do you have?
We have two for each cylinder, so we have eight.
Okay. Two for each cylinder, right? So eight total. All right. So if we're flying along and we have a rough engine, right? You're on your cross country and the engine starts running rough. What are some reasons that that could be the case?
Mixture needs to lean. Oil temperature is up and oil pressure is down. Also probably that there's oil leak. And I think it's probably because of the mixture.
Okay. Well, so
Maybe.
yeah, okay. You said mixture. Okay. You play around with the mixture and that's not why the engine's running. It's still running rough. What are some other reasons?
Maybe there's carburetor, I think.
Carb icing. Okay. So what would you do if you had carb icing?
Then carbide.
Turn on carb heat. Great. Carb heat didn't fix it. So it's not carb icing.
Power
What else could it
steering.
be?
Like, I mean, maybe it's carbide.
So you said carb icing, which is a good answer. All of these are correct answers, by the way. I want to see, I want to try to pick your brain a little bit. There's some different reasons.
Probably, probably aborted.
Maybe. So, okay, carb ice, you said? You said it could be a 2 lane of a mixture. You could be an oil leak, sure. Could be maybe a magneto issue, right? If you had a magneto failure in flight, that would cause your engine to run a little rough or maybe less, you know, less efficient, right?
This one is working after.
Yeah. It also could be, I mean, wouldn't really happen much in Florida, but it could be intake ice, right? Because it might just be carb ice. Like maybe the actual intakes of your engine are blocked for some reason. It doesn't have to be ice, but it could be anything that constricting the airflow. That could be a reason as well. Okay. All right. So you have a G5 in your plane, right? How does the G5 get? How does it? Is it dual G5 or one G5? Two G5s. Great. So you have one for your primary instruments and
Heading indicator is like two instead of the heading indicator and the attitude indicator.
okay, cool. So all right, you have the dual G5s. How does that top G5 that gives you your attitude, your heading, or your attitude, your airspeed, and your altitude? How does it display that information? Obviously, we know there's not a diaphragm in the G5. There's no gyroscope in the G5. What's in the G5 that provides this information?
There is a pitot-static system and the A-horse, which is the
Okay.
attitude, heading, preference system.
So yeah, that pitot-static system what does it feed into?
Pitot-static system is pitot tube for airspeed, and the static system is for airspeed, altimeter, and PSI.
Okay, good. Good. Also, we have the AHARS, right? Attitude heading reference system. It's internal solid state gyros, internal gyros, accelerometers, a magnetometer, right? But also we have an air data computer, right? ADC. So the ADC is what gives you, it takes information from the pitot tube and static port, right? And then that's how it displays your airspeed, your your altitude, right? That sort of stuff. It's kind of like the electronic version of your analog altimeter and your VSI and your VSI and your airspeed indicator. Okay, so when it comes to electronic instruments, it's your AHARS, like you mentioned, and the air data computer. Okay. What is the instrument called? Not instrument. What is the electronic instrument called that provides us with our magnetic heading? Not the compass, but how does their HSI and the G5 know what our magnetic heading is?
It's because it's gyroscopic rigidity and precision.
Yeah, so you said rigidity in space, right? That's how your backup HSI, if you have a backup heading indicator, if you have a backup heading indicator, the analog one, that's rigidity in space. That's a gyroscope, right? But obviously your bottom G5 that displays the heading, that's not a gyroscope, right? How does it know what our magnetic heading is? We don't have to reset it every time we fly it, right? What's that called? So it's called it's part of your AHAR system. Magnetometer. So it's part of the AHARs, okay? It's like kind of, if you have an AHARS, you probably have a magnetometer, right? But the magnetometer measures Earth's magnetic fields. Okay, so that's why your G5, you don't have to reset it every 15 minutes, right? I don't know, any of your flight school planes have a old school heading indicator?
That one.
Right. Yeah. So the first one that you sent me, right? So every 15, 30 minutes you have to reset it, right? Your heading indicator. But that's because of gyroscopic rigidity in space, which is correct answer for that. If you're flying that plane, yes. But you're flying a plane of dual G5s now. So you need to understand that this magnetometer, which is usually located like on the wingtips or like somewhere far away from your avionics. That's how it measures, because if it's close to a lot of metal, it'll provide some weird readings. Okay. All right. So I'm happy with that. Again, go over like specific, like you said ADC, or you said AHARS. I mentioned the ADC. So ADC and AHARS. So for ADC, it's your altimeter, your VSI, and your airspeed. Your AHARS is your attitude, your turn coordinator, and your heading indicator. But the heading indicator also goes off the magnetometer.
It's only the magnetometer, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So for human factors, the biggest question that I'm going to ask you is the different types of hypoxia, and we'll end it there.
Everything. I had a problem.
Could you?
One of the points, but I don't know which one. But it's not the
So
hypoxia. It's not that.
so do you want me to talk? Do you want me to go over types of hypoxia with you, or do you want to try answering it?
I know the types of it. Hypoxic hypoxia, hypemic hypoxia, toxic hypoxia, and also stagnant.
All right. So what is hypemic hypoxia?
Hypemic hypoxia is when you have anemia. It's when they're hypemic hypoxia when we have anemia and there is blood. There is oxygen in the blood, but the oxygen cannot be in the blood cells or cannot be received by the tissues because of the anemia.
Okay. So hypemic hypoxia is the blood cells' inability to utilize oxygen.
Yeah,
Good. So
chorus that nobody can say except the
so hypemic hypoxia, right? What is one real world example that we can get hypemic hypoxia?
real world
Yeah, like when can we actually get hypemic hypoxia in flight?
before smoking.
If we're smoking, like cigarette smoking, or
Yeah.
so carbon monoxide poisoning is what I would say for that. CO poison, because your red blood cells, your red blood cells are what transports oxygen to your body, right? But your red blood cells prefer carbon monoxide, which is why it's so dangerous. Okay, so CO poison. Hypoxic hypoxia, how does that happen?
Hypoxic, it's a lack of oxygen in the atmosphere.
Yeah, so it's lack of oxygen, right? So,
High altitude or something.
yeah, high altitude, good. All right. Stagnant.
Stagnant is because of the G forces. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like a,
Flying in the
yeah,
in the F-16 and with the
yeah,
gun, the oxygen doesn't have any place to
yeah,
go.
exactly.
Yeah.
So G-force would be one way that would happen. Okay, what about histotoxic?
It's because there's oxygen in the body, but it could not be delivered because of drugs or alcohol. It's the
Yeah, drugs and alcohol. Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right. Let me go back to the ACS. Human factors. Okay. What are the I guess symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning or hypoxia?
Dizziness, sickness, you know,
Yeah, numbness, feeling of like I don't know, yeah, headache, dizziness. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's say you went scuba diving today. How long would you have to wait before flying?
That's the point I'm talking about. Okay. So 8,000 feet, I will wait 12 hours. If I'm more than 8,000, 24 hours, right?
Yeah. No one's really expecting to remember the exact regulation by the book. I think a good rule of thumb is I would wait 24 hours, no matter what. Because if you wait 24 hours, it covers all of that parts of that regulation. Even though,
There was something I was told that there's two types.
yeah, there's scuba diving with a controlled ascent, like deep scuba diving, and there's scuba diving with not a controlled ascent. And then that's when the times to wait for flying changes. But the time never gets higher than 24 hours. So I just say I'd wait 24 hours no matter what. And then that's a fine and safe answer, right? Because if I pull up the regulation, uh, okay. Recommended wait time before going to flight altitudes above 8,000 feet is at least 24 hours after any scuba dive. The recommended wait time going to flight to altitudes. The recommended wait time for before going to flight altitudes up to 8,000 feet is at least 12 hours. That did not require a controlled ascent or decompression, and at least 24 hours after diving that required a controlled ascent or decompression. So it's either 12 hours or 24 hours. So just always say 24 hours, no matter what, just to be safe, right? That's just the safe answer. So 91. Oh no, it's in the aim. It's in the aim.
It's something 8 dash something, right?
8 dash 1 dash 2.
Okay.
All right. Obviously, I assume you know the I'm safe checklist. Expect the question on the I'm safe checklist. Expect the question on the PAVE checklist. But other than that, human factors, it's hypoxia, it's the 8 hours bottle to throttle, it's the I'm safe checklist, it's, maybe it's a question on scuba diving, hypothermia, maybe, some optical illusion question, maybe, like false horizon or,
Yeah, but like the
middle.
specific illusions I need to talk about because I actually remember just like 4 of them. So I need to remember one
Well,
of them.
no, not that again, it's more of a check the gouge of whatever DP you're going with. They really spend time on illusions. The things that I would understand for optical illusions is like false horizon is one.
Called,
Black hole approach. Those night illusions. Yep. Understand the like sinus problems, right? If you have someone has a sinus infection, probably shouldn't fly, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, because there's pressure. Equalizes your pressure, your sinuses. So if it's blocked, it will expand on ascent, and that causes a lot of pain. Hyperventilation. Again, human factors. It's the reason it's the last task. But again, you should be the big ones are carbon monoxide or hypoxia, sinus problems. Your night flying question maybe,
There's a
and then
specific question about the lifeline, like a couple of
it's the illusions like black hole approach.
Oh, there's an acronym. It's the ice flag one. If I remember, there's that one.
Ice, yeah. I would if you remember ice flags. I memorize it for my instrument training because when it really matters. But if you can remember ice flags, that's great.
Yeah, but would she like maybe ask me what each of them is?
Again, I don't know this examiner.
Mm.
I don't know this
No,
examiner.
I'm asking based on it.
I don't think they're going to ask you about
All of it.
about all of them.
But it's a great idea.
It would be good to know, but I wouldn't stress too much about. I wouldn't spend all of your time on illusions, or maybe have ice flags memorized. But
If I know where can I find
if you
it, is it fine? Or if I
ice
remember
flag,
it.
it's in the aim. A lot of stuff is in the aim. So
Yeah, I know where is it located. I selected or I painted, but if I just said, oh, I actually don't remember it in the top of my head, and I just open the email, start reading it, but that would be okay.
that's fine. You can do that. I did that for a couple of my check rides. When my private pilot checker, he asked me how the altimeter worked, and I completely blanked. And I opened up the PHAC and read off the PHAC chapter, and he took that.
Okay.
So it's open book. You're gonna, but it seems like you're tabbing all of your weaknesses, you're pinpointing your weaknesses, and that's exactly what you should be doing. So people don't do that. And it's shocking. You knew you're struggling with weather, and you knew you're struggling with all this stuff. So have that tabbed in your PHAC or your AIM. That way, if you get a question on it and you don't remember it, you could just you know where to find it, right? That's part of being a good pilot. And that's what they're testing for. They're not expecting you to know everything. They just expect you to know your weakness or know where to find the information. So if you're doing that, you're doing the right things. Okay.
There's any
I think. What was that?
Do you have any doubts for me? Like any
Honestly, all the notes that you've been taking throughout this mock oral, right? I asked you questions, and every question that you maybe there's a new question or something that you're weak on, you wrote it down. I saw you writing it down. That's the whole point. Okay, so pinpointing those weaknesses and there's something that I asked you that you hadn't heard before. You wrote it down. In terms of notes, like your weaknesses definitely are your weaknesses, so just keep working on them. But your strengths, everything else was fine.
you said your weaknesses were?
So like in terms of like the weaknesses you told me, like weather, systems, I think systems is definitely a weakness. So open up the POH and learn what engine you have and what horizontally opposed means, and that's a very important thing.
The
Okay.
thing I wrote for the systems is the ATC and the AHORS and the pitos.
Yeah, but I think and how your engine works, right? Horizontally opposed, naturally aspirated, direct drive. Those need to be the things that you can explain to me in detail or in general, right? It doesn't have to be in detail, but you should know what those mean. So that was a weakness that I saw that you should focus in on a little bit more. Okay.
Mm.
I think you're like 85% of your way there, like 90% ready for this check for a mock oral. I think you generally just all it is those your pinpointed weaknesses, and once you hone in on those, you'll pass an oral, no doubt. Okay. I think you're gonna take your oral exam and you're gonna be like, oh, I overprepared. That's what I thought, at least when I took my check ride. Um, but you should. That's the point, right? So, do you have any questions for me before we wrap up?
Uh, oh, one question. Yes, in the cross country section, when I'm planning to go to the first checkpoint with the PPE, is the top of climb could be the first point or the visual
If you want, so it doesn't. Top of climb does not have to be your first point,
because it's in
but
the
if it matches up to like your first point could be before your top of climb. Like I had mock oral students that are maybe fly out of like high altitude airports that take forever to climb, and then their top of climb takes like 20 miles, but their first visual point should be 10 miles, right? That's what we tell our students, like 10 miles, 15 miles maybe as your at each point. But if your climb takes 20 miles, your first visual point is going to be before your top climb. So top climb does not have to be your first visual point.
top of climb and that's a specific cross country was before the first one.
Then that's fine.
Then it could be
So
before the
as long as your first visual point is within 10 miles, I think that's fine. It doesn't have to be a visual point. It's just your top climb.
okay.
Okay.
No
Any other
more
questions?
questions.
Okay. I think you did good today. Okay. You have my email. If you have any other questions, like do not hesitate to email me and ask. I will take the time to respond to you. And obviously you don't have to pay me for that.
Okay.
To just no, of course. But going forward, if you're confused on something or maybe something pops up, you're like, okay, we went over this, but I don't fully understand it. Just shoot me an email. I'll give you resources that explains it, or we can do another one of these. It's up to you. But I think you're doing all the right things. Just based on all the information you emailed me is 10 times more than the mock oral students that I've done with this with. So I like how you want more work on your weaknesses. So I think you're going to be fine.
Okay,
All
I
right.
have a quick question. It's not related to the rules for the fine part. When you get your private pilot checker, what numbers did you find?
I did all of them.
Then the captain.
I don't. I think they'll do either turnaround at point or S turns. It's up to them. They usually don't make you do both,
Oh,
but you'll do all of them.
but for the emergency, what exactly?
Emergency descent.
Everything.
So emergency descent and then a simulated emergency landing as well as a diversion. They're going to have you divert to another airport. So they're going to yeah,
Like engine failure.
yeah. So just emergency descent in terms of emergencies.
But like I heard,
That's,
there's like if the wing gets like on fire, the cabin inside is fire.
yeah, they're gonna have you do your emergency descent based off of a scenario that they're gonna tell you like, oh, the wing's on fire or the engine's on fire. So then it's an emergency descent. And then if it's a simulated engine fire, then emergency descent and then cut the fuel of the engine, and then that's what they're expecting you to do. Okay. All right, Miriam. Good job today. Let me know when your check ride is. I'm curious if you pass. I think you will. You'll be fine. I don't care. I told you if you want to post this, that's totally fine.
Okay, that's fine. I just
Yeah.
was about to ask you. Thank you.
All right. No problem.
Okay, have a nice one.
All right. Bye.